Motorsports Park is a world-class 17-turn 2 1/3 mile road course nestled in the rolling hills of Alabama. And this weekend marks the return of world-class sports car racing to the venue for the first time since 2016. A grid of modern supercars are set to race by the famous Barber Vintage Museum, which houses the supercars and bikes of years past, with championship implications hanging in the balance in the present. Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, is one of 4 global Fanatec GT World Challenge championships. This is the penultimate round of the season and the final sprint round, with the Indianapolis 8-hour coming up next month to conclude the season.
Hard to believe it's already time for round 6 of the 2024 Fanatec GT season, and we come here to Barber Motorsports Park for the first time since 2016. This place is known as the Augusta National of racetracks, but it's also challenging on the drivers. And you'll catch 41 sculptures around the track that makes this place oh so unique. Now that we've got you caught up on all the southern charm of this place, let's head to this weekend's storylines. We have 6 global manufacturers represented in 16 race cars that are making the South their home this weekend. You see that race car behind us, the BMW of Neil Verhagen and Samantha Tan. They have 3 wins on the season and have seen the podium at every race but one. That duo could lock up the championship here this weekend, making it the first GT3 championship for ST Racing. Well, there's no way that the Pro class will wrap up here this weekend. That 120 Porsche kicked off the season with wins and winning overall in the category, but the arrival of the Corvette in COTA has put that on hold. It'll be a sprint to the finish at the Indy 8-hour. And rounding out with our AM category, welcome back to that AF Corsa entry. They had a stellar debut at the National Park of Speed in that gorgeous 296 Ferrari. But just how unrelenting is Barber Motorsports Park? We'll go to Calvin Fish for that answer.
Well, it's great to have SRO competition back here at Barber Motorsports Park for the Fanatec GT track preview. I'm sitting alongside Eric Filgueras, one of our super successful drivers in the paddock, 2023 co-champion in Fanatec GT. He's the current Pirelli GT4 championship leader. And Eric, most of that success has come behind the wheel of one of these Porsches. We're going for a ride here at Barber. Talk us through a lap here. How do you set it up, coming through these final few corners before we get to that front straightaway?
Yeah, beautiful 911 Carrera GTS on board today. Right, really trying to keep the car all the way to the right here so we can maximize the final exit leading onto the front straightaway.
This is turn 17. Okay, 2 1/3 miles of a lap here. Let's get going. Turn 1, approach speed in a GT3 car, about 130.
Big heavy brake zone, but we're not going to stay on it too long. Turn in where the curbing begins, downhill, back up through the compression into turn 2.
Beautiful there, about 100 miles an hour, minimum speed through turn 1, slowing it down here briefly, now back on the power.
You can see you lose a little bit of grip right in the middle, but we're going to find another compression, aim towards the scoring tower, straight hands.
Wow, the elevation change here is amazing. Down into turn 5, Kia will take an opportunity in the races here this weekend is this corner, Eric.
Yeah, big heavy brake zone, really try to get the car to turn again, off camber right in the middle, squeeze the throttle, try not to wheel spin.
That was nice, this Porsche handles well on these Pirellis. This is turn 8 and 9. I assume you need to use the curb through here.
Little bit of curbing in the middle. We try to come off the brakes, float the speed in, aim for that middle curb, over the curb, try to release a little bit of brake so that we don't ABS too much, squeeze the throttle, open the hands, pick the eyes up.
Awesome. About $125 as we get into this little chicane here, super quick through here.
Yeah, very quick, right, left, pick the eyes up. We're gonna use a little bit of that curbing right on the exit. Not too much though, it runs out quickly.
Maximum speed here is about 145 here this weekend.
On the brake here, really try to get the car to turn left, right, use the compression, pick the eyes up towards that tree line.
That was sweet. Blind corner there on exit there, then it really slows down. Long duration turn here. This is 14, 15, 16. Keeps coming at you.
Really light on the brake pedal, try to get it to turn all the way to the right here, square it up, get it to the left.
Final corner, turn 17. Wow, that was a ride. Great job, Eric. Good luck this weekend. That is the ultimate Porsche driving experience right there.
A picturesque setting and a gorgeous day here in Alabama for the final sprint race of the season for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside Amanda Busick, you've heard from already, down in the pits. It's a pleasure to have your company. So excited to get going. Yesterday was a great race for Fanatec GT here at Barber. And we've got a beautiful day to go racing here today, with temperatures starting to climb into the 80s, but sunny skies overhead. Just a nice little breeze as well to keep the fans around this track cool. So much to look forward to and a beautiful setting for it today.
It really is, and championships are very much on everyone's mind as they compress yesterday. Both championship leaders in Pro and the Pro-Am divisions did not have great days. They've got a rebound here in day two.
One of those championship contenders, the ones from Pro, in fact. Wright Motorsports, Elliott Skier, and Adam Adelson. And for more on their story, let's go down to Amanda Busick.
Hey guys, what an excellent afternoon for race number 2 here in the Fanatec GT Series right here at Barber Motorsports Park. I would say it's been a successful weekend for the series in their first iteration here of a race since 2016. We have a ton of storylines to catch you up on as we get started for this race. But before that, I do want to remind everyone watching globally that SRO is a global series, and a championship wrapped up today at Donington Park for the British GT Championship. Let's take a look.
The highlights of Donington's 2-hour race then, with the Lamborghinis battling with Mercedes at the front. Kevin Say, number 18 Mercedes, on the outside line. But his race would be turned upside down almost at the first corner. Contact between him and John Ferguson. The Mercedes tipped into the gravel. It would lose 2 laps while being recovered. And that meant that it was Rob Collard in the lead as more drama came. Mark Warren bouncing off the side of Zach Meakin in GT4 down at the old hairpin. Giacomo Petrobelli, though, was on a mission, moving himself up past Mike Price and heading his way towards the top 3 by the time we got to the pit stops. As there was further drama, into the back of Mark Radcliffe went Carl Cavers. Radcliffe had turned around Matt Topham. Varying levels of damage were accrued. Richard Neary dive bombed Sean Balfe and went through on the inside from Redgate, and that put him into the lead of Silver Am. And a change for the lead of GT4 simultaneously. Through on the inside went Aston Miller, moving himself up ahead of the Aston of Mike Porter. A puncture, though, for Alex Martin meant that 78 Lamborghini had to have an extra pit stop. It tumbled down the order. So too did Mark Smith, who was turned around by Morgan Tilbrook. As the pit window for the GT3 drivers opened, it was the Collards in the lead, and then big drama as off the road went Freddie Tomlinson. That brought out a long full-course yellow period and gave us 2 racing laps at the end. It wasn't enough time, though, for Johnny Adam to claw back the ground against Ricky Collard, but it was enough time for a puncture to send Sam Neary into the barriers. A second win of the year for Rob Collard and Ricky Collard, and they are still the championship leaders, heading to Brands Hatch.
Thanks to David Addison for that. If you love GT racing, you'll love British GT. Penultimate round of the championship going on this weekend. Cool track too, Donington. Cal, you ever get a chance to race there?
Yeah, I did. My old stomping ground. Raced 250cc supercarts there and some single-seater stuff as well. Magic facility, just like here at Barber.
Any comparison to this place?
A little bit, yeah. Actually, flowy circuit, lots of long-duration corners, bit of elevation change. Yeah, it's changed a little bit. You got the extra loop. I never ran that configuration, but we did see that. I mean, memories there are and center in 1993 in the wet when he kind of stormed to the front there. Just a magic circuit.
Well, no wet to worry about or contend with for these teams here this weekend at Barber. Picture-perfect conditions. Did have a little rain earlier in the weekend. In fact, that took away some chances to get some dry running around a track with which most of these teams had very little familiarity. Pre-race ceremonies about to get underway, and here to perform the Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States, it's London Coy.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous or the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the ragged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Some great pipes and some very cool shades. That was London Coy with the national anthem. Color guard from the University of Alabama, ROTC. Well, this is the second race of a doubleheader weekend for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. It all started with a thrilling race one yesterday, which had just a little bit of everything, helped to put these championships into perspective. Let's look back on race one. The green flag waved with the DXDT Corvette out in front, the car that had won the last 6 races prior to this weekend. Contact further in the back between the 2 championship frontrunners in the Pro-Am class. That was Samantha Tan into Justin Rothberg. Both of them had trying days from that point on. Good battling throughout this field, including between ST Racing and Racer's Edge. This was the crucial moment here in the pit stops, with the Random Vandals car coming out just behind the Racer's Edge car, but Kenton Cook charging through, was able to make the pass on Zach Veach, grab that position, and he then set off in pursuit of the race leaders. It was the second race weekend for Random Vandals at the GT3 level. Philip Ellis started the race for Regulator Racing. Jeff Burton took over in the second stint. It was Tommy Milner coming through to take the lead late in the going for DXDT in terms of the overall order. This was a great pass for the final step of the podium in the in the pro rank. Zach Veach to the inside of Varun Choksi made the pass there. Choksi falls back to 4th, but at the end of the day, it was 7 wins in a row for DXDT Racing. Alec Udell and Tommy Milner and the sister car took the win in Pro-Am.
And we're just moments away from Elliott having to get in this Porsche behind us. And Elliott, you guys come in as the points leader in this championship, but it's no secret that Corvette now with 7 wins in a row. What is the concern from this team?
All right, at the end of the day, we just got to keep executing like we can, and as they're doing. Ultimately, to beat them again would be a nice thing to do, but at the end of the day, we can only control our car and maximize what we can out there. Yesterday was not an ideal day, but today is a new day. We're feeling good. The team did some stuff to the car that we're really happy with, so let's go see what we got. We got another race in front of us and just end the weekend on a high note.
You said you haven't been here in 10 years. Does some of that, like riding a bicycle, you're back with it?
Yeah, this track really suits my style. I just love driving around here. I could drive it all day. Racing, it's a new game, and I'm just excited to go do another stint around here.
So there, Elliott's going to get ready for this race, guys, and I know you guys will look back at their venture yesterday at race number 1 here as they look for another opportunity. But as we talked about at the top of the show, SRO is a global series, and we're going to take a look at some highlights from Asia, from Europe. But first off, let's take a look at Australia.
Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia rounds 8 and 9. The GT Festival took place at Phillip Island the final weekend of August. It was Liam Talbot on pole in the Arise Racing Ferrari, and he led the field into turn number 1 at Phillip Island. Brad Schumacher early on in a fight for second place goes wide, spins around. That would not be the last time for Brad on the weekend. The pit stop sequence always important. beginning with the number 17 Audi. Then after that pit stop sequence, big move here. Ben Schutz in the Mercedes up the inside. Contact would lead to a penalty. Brendan Leach, a puncture with 2 laps to go, just moments after setting the fastest lap of the race in a track record. At the front, Arise Racing from pole picks up the win with the pairing of Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot celebrating at the top step. Race number 2 on Sunday saw a clean start. Pit stops, of course, had their part to play in this race. Brad Schumacher here fighting inside the top 5, puts the power down and goes around. Drivers forced to take evasive action further back. At the front, though, it was a 1-2 finish for Arise Racing. Mostert and Talbot, they now lead the points by 30 tallies with 4 races to go. GT World Challenge Europe at Magny-Cours, round 7 and 8, a twilight start with the Ferrari on pole position, BMW to the outside, but it was a car that started on the second row of the grid in third. Dries Van Thor for WRT, who would take the lead with this daring move around the outside of Ben Green's Ferrari and take WRT to the front. Dan Harper in the sister car shoved the Ferrari wide. He got a penalty for that contact. That would set them back in a big way. After the pit stops resumed, the battle at the front picked up. Patrick Niederhauser in the Porsche, passing Charles Bertz. He picked up the win on the road, but a post-race penalty for an unsafe release would cost Porsche its first Sprint Cup race win overall of the season. Instead, it was the WRT pairing that picked up the race win on Saturday. On Sunday, Jules Gounon scored pole position for Boutsen VDS. A frantic start saw a number of cars spinning, including this wild ride for Santaloc's number 25 car. That brought out a safety car. Gounon would pit from the race lead, hand over the leading Mercedes to Maxi Getz, but that would not be for long. This was a great duel into the Adelaide chicane. Going wide was Getz, and it really wouldn't matter because the windward car, driven by Lucas Auer, made the pass, came to the front. That's crucial for them in their championship bid, and WRT winners on Saturday able to follow through into the second spot. Maro Engel loves what he's seeing as his teammate Lucas Auer takes windward to the point. A 2-point lead now for Van Thor and Verts over Auer and Engel with just 2 races to go. GT World Challenge Asia at Okayama, rounds 9 and 10 of the season. The final to take place in Japan. Great scenes on the grid. Watch that Porsche mid-pack. That would be penalized for improper start procedure. At the start, a couple of Audis leading the way into turn number 1. James Yu Kwai, the early race leader, he pits from the point, giving up the seat to Akash Neil Nandi, and would retain the lead after the pit stops. The man on the move, though, was Leo Hung Lee, passing Marcus Finkelhock there. He was able to run down the race leader, but could not make the pass. It was the first win of the season for Nandi and Kwai, and that number 41 Absolute Racing team. A lot to celebrate on a dry day at Okayama on Saturday. Not so dry, at least in the second half of the race on Sunday. Look at this start, 5 and 6 wide, further back in the pack. Unsurprisingly, this would end in tears for a number of drivers. The rest of the field had to take evasive action. Then the rain came, and it came at a crucial time before the pit stop window. That left a number of teams struggling from a strategic perspective, making pit stops before the mandatory window. That would necessitate future second stops. It was a wild race strategically, but Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, they stole a march on the field, timing their pit stops to perfection. That's the green Lamborghini right here that came out ahead of Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim into the lead with an eye on snapping a drought of nearly 6 years since the last Lamborghini win in Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia competition. And indeed, that's the way it would play out, with Vincenzo Sospiri Racing leading the way across the line, taking the checkered flag. Fantastic fights all weekend long, and it sets up a great title showdown in Shanghai, coming up with titles in the balance in Pro-Am, Silver, and China Cup competition.
Welcome back to pit lane as we get ready for race number 2 here at Barber Motorsports Park. And Justin Rothberg and Robbie Foley have made a leap in the championship hunt as it's going to come down to the Indy 8-hour, but came in with a 45-point deficit, able to make up on that yesterday. And Justin, we've seen you grow this season, especially right here at Barber Motorsports Park. How comfortable are you with this track at the moment?
I really like the track. We've obviously had some pretty good qualifying results here. We haven't really converted in race results, but hopefully today we keep the car at the front and bring it home in first.
We were just off camera talking about your job, but your job today means that you're outside of the race car for the first stint as Robbie gets underway. How difficult is this part of it, to just sit back and watch?
It's really hard to sit back, watch, and just wait. And I hate sitting around and waiting, especially during something like this, but I'm excited to get in the car and do what I'm here to do.
That competition that you will face in that Pro-Am category is the other BMW of ST Racing and Samantha Tan and Neil Verhagen. When you look at them as a duo, how do you two stack up?
It's obviously a competitive duo. I mean, we've been going blow for blow with them all season, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Good luck today, guys. We're going to see that all day today.
I think so. We have all year long. Justin Rothberg and Robbie Foley took a hard-earned third-place finish yesterday after getting tipped around by this car on the lap 1, turn 1 yesterday in race number 1. Now it's these two cars sharing the front row here today, not just in class, but overall.
Yeah, I know, and they seem to be finding each other lately. We certainly saw that big incident at VIR between Robbie Foley and Neil Verhagen as they duked it out on the racetrack. I would assume there's been some chats about how we can keep it a little bit cleaner as two BMW drivers going for a win here, but they got the front row. But look behind them, there's a couple of really quick young drivers, Tom Sargent, Riccardo Agostini. They're going to try and make some moves here. So there's 4 Pro-Am cars leading this field to green, and then the first Pro car of Kenton Cook coming off a really impressive runner-up finish yesterday for Random Vandals. Sharing that car with Connor Daly, who I thought drove excellent yesterday. He doesn't have a ton of GT3 experience, so that was really a great run for him.
Yeah, big for Random Vandals to start on pole. The car they start ahead of in class is the number 63. That's won the last 7 races. Could this be the day that that streak comes to an end?
Well, I think potentially, but they've just been executing at such a high level. I don't think the Corvette is ideal to this circuit, but nonetheless, they did a really great job yesterday. Alec Udell from the pole did a great job in managing the first stint, and Tommy Milner, his outlap was impressive. That gave him the gap. Then he just managed that over Kenton Cook with that BMW really putting the pressure on.
They joined the championship mid-season, and so really weren't talking about points, talking about a championship at all. But with that 7th win yesterday, they're only 20 points out. I joked with them at the end of the day yesterday. You can't dodge those championship questions anymore.
No, it's only a 20-point lead now for the 120 machine, so the heat is definitely on. Elliott Skier seemed pretty confident. They've got to bounce back today. They cannot finish 5th. They need to be at least on the podium and keep it with a decent lead heading into Indianapolis.
It's the final sprint race of the season with the Indy 8-hour looming, and it's time to get this thing underway. To give the command to start engines, the marketing manager for Adams Beverages, please welcome Danielle Shimon with the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines.
And with that, the field comes to life. 2 formation laps upcoming, and then the green flag for race 2 of the weekend. It's been since 2016 since world-class sports car racing was here at Barber Motorsports Park. The return has been well received, an enthusiastic crowd here all weekend, and the drivers and teams alike have been raving about not just the racing track and the racing surface, but the entire facility. Being here at Barber has been a hit.
Well, it's so far ahead of its time back in 2003 when George Barber put this facility together, and it stood the test of time. It's such an impressive facility. You drive in, you immediately kind of recognize how pristine it is. It's related to the Augusta National Golf Club locally in Augusta, Georgia, not that far away from this facility here, but you know, the racetrack itself, everyone loves driving a lap around here, and the concern was, how would it race? Is there overtaking opportunities for him? Well, yesterday we saw that, some great dicing, and really was a thriller.
This track in recent years known as an IndyCar venue, and we do have a couple of drivers with IndyCar experience here in this field. Zach Veach will start the Racer's Edge Acura from the 8th spot overall, and then Connor Daly gets the 2nd stint today aboard the Random Vandals car. the number 99 BMW in just that's the second weekend for that car at this level. And you brought it up earlier, Connor, despite his lack of experience, drove a really good stint yesterday, fending off Bill Auberlen for the better part of 45 minutes.
Yeah, really nice job. I mean, the car looked twitchy at times, but he hung on to it and was super impressive. I think he was frustrated by his lack of seat time, particularly in qualifying, where he didn't have a lot of time on sticker tires, but putting together a really nice qualifying run and backed that up with a really solid first stint.
Here's how they lined up for race 2 of the weekend in the final sprint round of the season. On the Rover pole position, it is BMW factory driver Robbie Foley alongside a fellow factory driver, both from the northeastern United States, Neil Verhagen for ST Racing. Those two vying for the Pro-Am Class Championship in 2024. Row 2 of the grid, a couple of drivers not thinking about points, but looking to showcase their speed. Tom Sargent had the fastest lap of the race yesterday, and Riccardo Agostini, already a pole sitter in just limited appearances in this championship. Kenton Cook's on the Pro Class pole ahead of Tommy Milner, one of the championship contenders in the Pro Class. Tommy and Alec Udell have won 7 in a row since debuting at COTA. Elliott Skier comes in with the points lead alongside Adam Adelson. He'll start next to Zach Veach in the 4th row of the grid and the 2nd row of the Pro Class. Then you find Brian Sellers. This car won its Pro-Am class yesterday. Bryson Morris, his young teammate, super impressive. Now 2 wins in 3 starts this year. Oz Negri in the lone Am class entry set to line up 10th. Trent Hinman from RS1 and Varun Choksi from ST Racing starting in row number 6. Row number 7 here today belongs to the Canadian Kyle Marcelli from the Montreal Motorsports Group and Andy Lee from Flying Lizard Motorsports. Marcelli's car had a clutch issue yesterday. That was identified and fixed. They're good to go today. And Jeff Burton will start in the 15th spot. But keep an eye on that car because Philip Ellis will drive in the 2nd stint, and they're on the alternate strategy they have run to such great success all season long. One car that will not take the start today, unfortunately, Aaron Povoleto and Raj Schwest. The chassis was damaged beyond repair in the GT America race earlier on today. It's the 2nd chassis they've lost in this many race weekend, so really difficult time for them, but they're looking forward to bouncing back at Indianapolis for the 8-hour race weekend. That's the starting grid and how they line up for today's race. 4 Pro-Am cars on the front row. How do you expect the front runners in Pro to handle them when we go racing, Cal?
Well, I think it really depends on the pace. I think all of those 4 cars in front of them are being driven by the pros in their lineup, so they're going to have pace. They certainly showed that in qualifying. That's why they sit on the grid as they do. So for Kenton Cook and Tommy Milner, as long as those Pro-Am cars continue to run at a decent pace, they don't really have to worry about it. They just got to really focus on their own class battle. Certainly Tommy Milner has got to now be thinking big picture of the championship. He's got Elliott Skier 1 position back, so I think his first thought is, I've got to beat that Porsche, and then he's got to handle the traffic in front of him.
The safety car has accelerated away. The Rover pole sitter, Robbie Foley, has the field in tow. That's the blue, black, and white BMW right-hand side of the screen. ST Racing BMW of Neil Verhagen sharing the front row. They approach the VP acceleration zone, getting ready to start the final sprint race of 2024. Tom Hansing in the flag stand, watches as the field comes towards him in perfect alignment. The green flag is out and race 2 of the weekend is on. Robbie Foley leads the charge down the hill into turn number 1. Unlike yesterday, it's a clean start. BMW runs run 2, and Kenton Cook is the man on the move in the early going. He's vying for the 3rd position.
Yeah, really impressive run there by Kenton Cook, putting it all on the line. He's now alongside Tom Sargent, and he has the inside line into the brake zone for turn 5. Agostini drops a position there overall, still runs 4th in class. That is tight there with Skier and Milner.
Those are the top 2 in the points.
Bodyworks flying.
Veach got shoved back, so did Sargent. He's dropping down the order quite a bit. Great getaway for Foley. Then you get Verhagen. It's side by side heading to the museum complex. Tough place to make it work 2 by 2, but somehow they do manage to get through.
Big commitment there by Tommy Milner. Really nice first lap here by the 63 machine as he settles in. Right behind him, Sargent's on the rebound.
Did you see that slide from Elliott Skier?
He can certainly, he's got a ton of car control, that kid. He can really throw that Porsche around.
did it right in front of Zach Veach, who's best known as an IndyCar driver, but he's done some dirt track racing.
That was tight there with Milner and Sargent. Sargent looked to the inside through that tight sweep at turn 14.
Well, a frantic first lap, but mercifully, a relatively clean one. Robbie Foley leads the field around on what could be a very big weekend for Turner Motorsport. Neil Verhagen second, Kenton Cook, the big mover from the start. He's up to third and leads in the pro class. Then it's Agostini for AF Corsa, Tommy Milner fifth overall in the DXDT Corvette.
Brian Sellers, a nice clean start. Our Pro-Am winners from yesterday. He and Bryson Morris going for 3 in a row after another victory at Road America. Different number this weekend. Then now switched to the 64 from the 08, so the 2 Corvettes, 63 and 64 respectively in the field this weekend.
BMW 1, 2, 3 overall. Then it's the prancing horse of the Ferrari, Riccardo Agostini in 4th, Tommy Milner in 5th. Speaking of Ferraris, this is Oz Negri, the only AM-class car in the field. Oz, though, qualified 10th. He's got great pace, really experienced driver, but something seems to have gone amiss. He has dropped off the pace. In fact, his first lap was 12 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, I wonder if he had a moment and had to recover from that. But right now the heat is on. Neil Verhagen is not an in-class car, but as a fellow BMW in the hands of Kenton Cook. Robbie Foley's taken off here a little bit from a very impressive pole position here yesterday.
This is a cool opportunity for Kenton Cook because the 2 drivers ahead of them, same equipment, both BMW factory drivers. Kenton Cook is unaffiliated. This is Kenton showcasing just how quick he is.
Yeah, and they had to draft in Madison Snow with Connor Daly getting some IndyCar opportunities. He was essentially supposed to drive at Road America. That didn't happen. Madison got involved in an incident with Bill Oberlin in the first race there at Road America, and then they seem to have some technical issues in race 2. But Negri's problems must be more than just a quick moment. He's in pit lane early.
We're hearing a report of a clutch issue on the number 163 Ferrari. That's the second clutch problem in as many days if you factor in the Montreal Motorsports Group Porsche yesterday. Pace continues to quicken. Robbie Foley with the fastest lap of the race. He's built an advantage now to 1.7 seconds. AF Corsa crew, they know their business. This is the preeminent Ferrari squad in the world, and they're going to work right now.
Yeah, that's not going to be a quick fix, and they're going down bundle of laps. They're the solo entry in the AM class, so they'll still try and get back out there, score some points. I think they have the AM championship lead based on the victory here yesterday.
That is correct. Look at that Hornet's Nest in the mid-pack. Here we take a peek at Elliott Skier, who was very aggressive on the start. He is up into 7th. Most importantly, though, his target in the championship sits directly ahead. That's the Corvette.
Yeah, and he would do anything that he can do to try and get in front of that Corvette and give Adam Adelson a little easier path to the checkered flag here this afternoon. But Tommy Milner's been absolutely on his game. His management yesterday of that race, he just drove the tires to perfection, had a big lead, managed it. Kenton Cook came back at him. He probably used his tires up a little bit, and Tommy had enough in the bag to just bring it home by a slender margin. Beautiful victory.
As they run, and it's worth stressing, we are very early in the going here, but it would be just a 13-point lead heading into Indianapolis for the 120 if they finish in 2nd. Actually, it wouldn't be. That's not quite right, because they're in 3rd, aren't they, at the moment? So it would be a 15-point lead heading into Indianapolis. Nevertheless, still a lot to shake out. We'll start tabulating points as we get deeper into this. This is the fight for 2nd in Pro. Milner in the Corvette, Skier in the Porsche. You heard from him earlier in the show talking to Amanda. He's not been here in some 10 years, and that was in a single-make Porsche competition.
But at least he has been there.
True.
Some of the field have not, so they're learning as we go here. Some teams did test here. Turner Motorsports certainly did, and that certainly gave them a bit of a leg up in terms of the setup. But Riccardo Agostini just laid down the fastest lap of the race at 122.46, which is about a 10th quicker than our leader, Robbie Foley. So there's pace in that Ferrari. Elliott Skier, so impressive, though. Just really watch him drive that Porsche on the ragged edge, and he's trying to dig deep here as we're looking at the 2nd of the Corvettes now. That's Brian Sellers there, sitting 9th overall and 5th in the Pro-Am division.
Bryson Morris, who is the young co-driver to Brian Sellers, really set the table for them yesterday with a strong opening stint. Sellers doing what he can to keep tabs on the rest of the cars in his class. He's currently 5th and has some out-of-class traffic to get around. Riccardo Agostini here just set the fastest lap of the race the last time by at a 22.460. It's only marginally quicker than the cars ahead of him. It's super tight. There's not much to separate the first 4 cars in terms of their outright pace.
Really impressive young driver, 30 years of age, second year with AF Corsa. Looks to the inside there on Kenton Cook. Kenton takes that big wide approach there into that turn 16. Got to be careful here, but Agostini, long associated with Ferrari, got a prize for winning Rookie of the Year in Italian Formula 3 back in 2012. Got to test a Formula 1 Ferrari, believe it or not, at Vallelunga. And he's now established himself as one of the top GT pilots on the global stage.
Don't see him a whole lot stateside. Did do a full season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo here in the US back in 2017. Actually won the championship, won the world final, and his co-driver for a lot of that was actually Trent Hidman, who's in this race here too. Race Vision powered by AWS, 3 different cars with individual best sector times. Car 29 in Sector 1, car 99 in Sector 2, and the 32 Porsche of Tom Sargent, fastest 3rd sector.
Yeah, BMW's looked tough through those first couple of sectors there, and then the Porsche has great speed there in the hands of Tom Sargent. Not a great first lap for Tom Sargent, had a rebound there, got shuffled out of position a little bit, took to the grass. Saw some bodywork flying. I'm not sure if it came off his car or a car directly in front of him, but nonetheless, not the ideal stop up front. Robbie Foley starting to strut his stuff, 2.4-second lead right now.
And he just took the title of fastest man on track back with a 1:22.314 on the last lap, as you see on screen. How about this lap? Can he find even more speed in that BMW M4? He does not. Goes a little bit slower, but only by a 10th. Remarkable consistency, but on the other hand, that's exactly what you expect from a factory driver.
You would. It's all about driving the car on the limit, just keep knocking out those lap times, but time management is going to be key. They've been talking about it all weekend. It didn't really come into play yesterday, but a little bit different conditions here today, so that's going to be first and foremost in Robbie's mind. If you do get a caution, you want to have a little bit of tyre left in your stint. Obviously, tyre changes are allowed at Fanatec GT between the roughly 40 and 50-minute mark in this race, with 51 minutes and 14 seconds to go in the race would be the earliest stop opportunity by reaching the minimum stop time and not being a foul of the 50-minute maximum drive time for any of the drivers in this field.
Mentioned during the starting lineup to keep an eye and remember the number 91 of Jeff Burton, who's on that alternate strategy. He runs 14th right now. That's the last of the cars that have not had any issues in this race so far, but he's hanging with the train of cars in front of him, and his job in this opening stint, running the alternate strategy that they use, is just to stay in striking distance and then let Philip Ellis cook in the second half of the race.
Yeah, and he was really only, what, 5-10 minutes shy of bringing it home yesterday. I really think that was the performance of the year for Jeff Burton, and he's showcasing the speed that he has on this racetrack once again in segment 1 of this race. And ideally what they need and what Bill Oberlin needs with their alternate strategy too, with the number 28 BMW, is to get a yellow, get a compression of the field so that the pros don't have as much work to do in the second half of this race.
Pro battle for second, but it's also the pro battle for the points lead. These two have been the dominant forces on either half of the championship, right? You look at the first half of the season, it was all about the 120 of Steiner and Adelson. And about the time that this Corvette entered the championship, it started to swing back the other way, and they've not lost a race since they came into the series in May.
Yeah, and that's so hard to do, even if you have performance, even if you have 2 great drivers, to continue to execute at that level. And just hats off to the DXD team and the support that they have from Pratt & Miller with these Corvettes that they're running, to be able to bring the cars out, have the reliability, have the consistency and pace, and not make any mistakes either from behind the wheel or on pit lane is impressive.
The consistency for the 120 group, though, is what's allowed them to continue to lead, even with this Corvette winning 7 races in a row. Yesterday was such an anomalous performance for Skier and Adelson. They had only finished off the podium a single time all season before yesterday, and this is really the first time that they weren't a factor in any meaningful way for a podium, if not a race win.
Yeah, and you think, well, maybe that's just the balance of performance of the Porsche here on this race circuit, but then you relate to Tom Sargent, who had the fastest lap yesterday, so the brand has pace. Certainly Wright Motorsports, they know how to turn the knobs on one of these Porsches. Maybe they're a little bit stronger here today. Certainly he's hanging a bit tougher than we saw yesterday.
Let's talk about this track here, Calvin. 2.3 miles, 17 turns, as much as 80 feet of elevation change on a single lap around this place. It's a technical challenge from behind the wheel. That's if you're driving by yourself. But now if you're trying to make a pass, just how difficult is this track in traffic?
It's not easy to make a pass. Really, turn 5 is the only truly what I call legitimate passing opportunities. But you saw yesterday, you can get creative with it. I think as you get deeper into the stint, if someone's abused their tires a little bit more and gets a little bit of an imbalance in the race car, that can create opportunity. Traffic obviously can do the same. There's not a lot of high terminal speed here. Top speed is entering turn 12 at about 145 miles an hour. There's nothing like we saw at Road America, of course, but these corners keep coming at you. When I did that Fanatec GT track preview with Alex Filgueras, my first ride around the circuit, it keeps coming at you in a hurry. It's very flowy, a lot of rhythm to it, but some really high speed apex speeds that you see like through turn 1. That's about 100 mile an hour apex speed through there. And then it really loads up that left front. You're really thinking about getting the car to turn. And what you can do is what we call an asymmetric car setup with the geometry, putting a bit more weight on that right front corner to help the car turn. Give up a bit of speed right here through turn 5, but will pay dividends around the rest of the circuit.
In many respects, this track is the polar opposite of where we're headed next, to Indianapolis, which has 2 long straightaways, the pit straight and Holman Boulevard, and that's about as flat of a racetrack as you will find, other than the banking, of course, that they use on the south end of the track.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that once you get to the end of that back straightaway, the fast change of direction, you need a similar balance with the race car here. We spoke to Ros Negri, unfortunately he's had this clutch issue, we believe, early in the race. I spoke to him the other night about this track. He said, with the Ferrari right now, we've got a slightly higher ride height on the race car, and that makes it tough for the car to change direction, and he feels that's what's cost him lap time here. You could have the same problem at Indianapolis through that last phase of the circuit.
It's been a tough day for AF Corsa and the M-Class entry, Ros Negri, Jay Schreiben. Let's get more on their story with Amanda.
Well, Ryan, while we are back in the paddock, it's not day over just yet. The team is still trying to get back on track. What can you tell us, Jay?
Well, usually it's more fun talking to you, Amanda, but today I think the clutch might be done. So the clutch was slipping when Oz was on his first lap, and tried to see if we could free it up by cooling it off, but we're going to have a look. I think it might be done, though.
I know you have big plans, obviously a full effort in 2025, but the Indy 8 Hour, it has been mentioned what the lineup is, but I would like to hear it from out of you. What can we anticipate for the Indy 8 Hour for this group?
So we got a great plan for the Indy 8 Hour. It's Ros Negri, myself, and our platinum driver, Tony Vilander, Ferrari GT champion. So we're super excited about the race. Looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll have a new clutch.
Awesome, Jay. Well, we hope you see this Ferrari back on just to get some laps under it. But in that 2025 effort, guys, I did hear Jay saying that we might even see some additional Ferraris making their way into our paddock next season to compete against Jay Schreiben and that AF Corsa entry.
That would be great news. Thanks, Amanda. Tough day today, but a big future ahead for Jay, and what a lineup. You can draft in Tony Vilander. He's a World Endurance Championship GT champion, 2-time FIA GT champion, 07 and 08. So many big race wins in his career. That's a real star you're bringing into the paddock.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Such a big personality. Wonderful to have Tony back on our shores and competing at the Indy 8 Hour. Look forward to maybe at the banquet sharing a vodka with him as well.
I should mention, too, he's a multi-time champion in this paddock. Certainly 2018 Pirelli World Challenge GT champion, and also a Sprint X champion. He won overall and in Sprint X that year, and won the predecessor to this series championship the following year as well, alongside a combination of Miguel Molina and Daniel Serra, two pretty outstanding drivers in their own right. So anyway, all of this to say, having the Finn Tony Vilander back stateside, back in this paddock, can't wait to see it.
He has certainly kept Milner honest. He hasn't really had an attack on him just yet, hasn't got close enough. See that Corvette really hugs through that chicane beautifully. Great handling car, seems to be really, looks low and flat to the road, doesn't it? Doesn't really roll much through there, just really got the handling sorting out. There's also some BOP adjustments since the last round of the championships, and the Corvette certainly had a little bit of performance taken away with a bit more weight, a little less restrictor, meaning a little less power, so that plays into the hands of this race dynamic at the moment.
Two iconic cars, though, when you talk about the Corvette and the 911. Awesome to have the Corvette joining the SRO fold, and for DXDT Racing, team owner David Askew put a lot of work into trying to be the representative effectively for GM here. It is customer racing, of course, but they do have a lot of support from GM, Brad Miller, and to then repay their faith with all these wins. We talk about the 7 in a row in Pro, but they've now won 2 in a row in Pro and 2.
Yeah, 2 sweeps, consecutive sweeps at Road America Race 2, and the first one here at Barber Motorsports Park. So they're certainly firing on all cylinders. Going to be a tall order here today in both of the classes to get back to victory lane, but still a long way to go in this race.
Here's Zach Veach. His teammate Luca Mars had this car on the front row overall yesterday. Zach's a busy guy. In addition to this program here in Fanatec GT, he has an affiliation with McLaren's IndyCar team and does a lot of their sim work. In fact, he's set to leave the track here when this race is done and catch a flight to Charlotte, where he has been tasked with doing a lot of the sim prep work for the Aero McLaren team for the Nashville Super Speedway Oval, which is the season finale for the IndyCar series coming up next week.
Yeah, and I think when they had the injury to Malukas early in the year, they were considering throwing Zach in that IndyCar program for the first few rounds. So as he was trying to put this program together with the Racer's Edge, that was definitely on his radar at the same time. Didn't quite click that program together, but he's certainly a valued member of the McLaren team.
Did ask Zach about that earlier today. He said it was discussed, and he said ultimately it was really nice to be considered after being out of the cockpit on the IndyCar side for so long. I mean, this really is his racing return. He did a handful of seasons in IndyCar, did the 1 season in IMSA GT Racing, and then we really didn't see a whole lot of Zach, but he's come back refocused, fired up, and more passionate than ever about his racing. And this is a special place for him too, because he debuted in IndyCar right here at Barber back in 2017.
As we mentioned, he was supposed to be behind the microphone that weekend. That opened up the door for your first foray.
Yeah, it's a special weekend for the both of us, I suppose. Got to work for the radio network covering that race. I think Zach was right where he needed to be in the cockpit. I like to think I was too. Here's Tom Sargent, had the fastest lap of the race yesterday. Right now, 4th in his Pro-Am class. But the man he's going to turn this car over to is Kyle Washington. And Kyle, to my mind at least, is in some of the finest form we've seen him in over the last few years.
Yeah, had a nice chat with Kyle at lunchtime actually today, and talked about his performance. We saw him put a move on Johnny O'Connell in the opening laps of the GT America race this morning. I said, that was sensational. I said, your racecraft has really improved. He said, I'm getting a lot of laps. He's competing in multiple championships and is just doing a really nice job. He said, not a lot of people know this, but I was pretty much violently sick right as he's sitting in the cockpit before the off yesterday. He said, it's a pretty nasty experience. And he said, poor Tom had to jump into the cockpit halfway through the race. So he said, maybe you just want to get out of the car quickly. That's why he laid down the fastest lap of the race. It was not a pretty scene.
You'll take the motivation anywhere you can get it. We were telling the Zach Veach story a moment ago. Let's get more on Racer's Edge now with Amanda.
Yeah, I was just going to add into the conversation that you guys had about Zach Veach and catching up with him prior to the weekend. In terms of testing for this track, pretty much every team was in the same situation, not really having much lap times here, with Zach Veach being one of those as a prior driver here in IndyCar. But Zach was telling me how him and Luca Mars went on an extensive track walk around this place on Thursday and just making mental notes of the characteristics of Barber Motorsports Park. But one of the things that I found most interesting is in comparing the experience from IndyCar to a sports car here. Zach said that you're always on an edge here in IndyCar, but much more enjoyable in a sports car, yet also challenging.
He's loving the challenge. It's giving him a new lease on his racing life. I've told the story a few times this year, but he comes from a racing family, but a very different form of motorsport. His father was a champion tractor puller, and that's where his love for horsepower came from.
Very cool.
If you've never seen like a proper top-level tractor pull, I'm telling you, it is eye-opening. It's a bit like, well, Amanda can speak to what it's like to be standing there for a funny car run or a top fuel run. I've been to a few of those tractor pull events early in my career when I was covering fairs and things like this, and yeah, it'll take your breath away.
Two BMWs hard at it. This is for second and third overall. Neil Verhagen in the 38 championship leading car. Kenton Cook, they're really close. Kind of runs a tighter line through there. He's looking pretty forceful right now. Trying to unlock the door to a pass here on Neil Verhagen.
Yesterday, when Aaron Povolano was trying to hang on to the lead lap ahead of a bunch of big-name pros, you made the comment this was Aaron's chance to advertise his pace. And I bring this up again, that right now, Kenton Cook, not a factory-affiliated driver, but he's hanging tough in similar equipment, identical equipment, with two BMW factory drivers. This is a great advertisement for his talent.
Yeah, I think Kenton Cook is no longer a secret. You know what I mean? He just runs at the top of the tree every time he jumps behind a machine, whether it's GT4 or GT3 competition now, which he's getting more and more experience with. He is a top shelf driver, really likable man, and just does great things behind the wheel. Seems to be really smart and savvy. He's never desperate, but he's willing to put it all in and put it right on the edge to get the result.
Same story here in a lot of respects with Kyle Marcelli. Doesn't seem to matter what you throw him in, he just goes fast. He's a former champion in this series, the Pro-Am class back in 2021, multi-time Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion, including back-to-back years actually, 22 and 23. Just a guy you could throw in the car and count on to run quick, consistent laps. And he's doing a lot of work to help shepherd this young program along with his co-driver, JF LeBurge. Very Canadian effort, Canadian team, two Canadian drivers in the German Porsche. Behind him, you'll find Flying Lizard's BMW. And if you weren't with us at Road America, this might seem like a big change. And it was mid-season for this team. They elected to make a switch in platform, Andy Lee and Elias Sabo, and it seems like the early returns have been positive.
Yeah, they really have, even though Andy's running 11th overall right now. His fast lap is only 6/10 off Robbie Foley's race-leading pace. So they're right there. They're going to learn a lot. Spoke to the team this weekend about how they like the BMW. He said it really feels good. The drivers are very comfortable with it. We just need some test time. Simple as that to really unlock all of its potential.
Andy Lee from Colorado, 41 years old, and behind the Andy Lee car is Trent Hindman. He and Robbie Foley both from the Garden State of New Jersey. Nice New Jersey presence here. This is such a cool looking race car. We talked about it a lot yesterday. His co-driver Jake Peterson responsible for this design. Trent, another one who has had a ton of success. He's won GT4 championships. He's won GT3 championships. And now in a bit of a mentor role, despite the fact he's still very young in his racing career, but he's had so much success. A great person for Jake Peterson to learn from.
Yeah, coming off a really impressive podium run here yesterday, finished second in class, but it just shows you how competitive this race is, because right now they're running around in 8th position in class. So if you don't have the track position, there's so much competition now, the level is so high, it's hard to do anything with it.
This is a home race for Varun Chokshi, effectively. He's from Alpharetta, Georgia, just down the road, a suburb of Atlanta. That's not a far drive at all. About an hour and a half or so from where we're located here in Alabama.
So if you drive one of these GT3 cars there.
That's true. Probably beat the
without
airplane.
traffic.
Right.
Maybe this way when you gain an hour, right?
Oh, I see. My calculation wasn't quite right.
No, You're close.
In the ballpark. Well, I'm not driving, fortunately. I got my connection through Atlanta, but that's by air. Anyway, nevertheless, pretty close to home for Varun, who has done a number of seasons in open wheel racing, 12th in the 2020 F4 US Championship, 4th in 2021 in the same championship, on the podium 5 times. Then started switching to single make Porsche racing in 2022, ran in Carrera Cup a couple of years, and hooked up with ST Racing and Bill Auberlin here.
Yeah, ran with Wright Motorsports in that single make series, Porsche series, and this has been a great year for him. I mean, I think for he and Bill Auberlin, they were scratching their heads a little bit. Even though the results were better, the performance and lap time delta was greater between them and the other BMWs in the field for the first half of the race, but half of the season, should I say. But they did a little bit of testing, seemed to get things straightened away. There was no smoking gun in terms of why they didn't have the pace, but I really feel they're back on form right now. Auberlin had an excellent run yesterday. I think if he had qualified a little bit towards the sharp, he could have led the field overall here yesterday, but nonetheless, turned the car over to Varun, looking for a podium run. He just lost that right at the final stages of the race yesterday, but certainly gives them a lot of hope moving forward. But he, like Jeff Burton here, they need a yellow. He's doing a great job with his pace here as Philip Ellis watches on, his teammate, of course, for Regulator Racing, but they need a bit of a compression in the field. If they caught a yellow, that would play right into their strategy of starting the AM first in race 2 on these weekends.
It's worked out well on a couple of occasions. Certainly the podiums have been coming this year. They're 3rd in points, but they have that overall win earlier this summer. That is something that they can hang their hat on.
Burton's last lap was only a 10th of his personal best, so he's been super consistent here. And those lap times were only a 1.5 seconds off our leader here that we look at right now, Robbie Foley. The Turner Motorsports BMW, and that gap is now 4 seconds at the front of this field against the championship leaders. Neil Verhagen sitting there in P2. Fellow BMW Works drivers we mentioned earlier in the show, but this Turner car is certainly hooked up, and Robbie is maximizing its pace. It's been a really solid run for him here today.
Not a surprise to see a Turner-tuned BMW with strong pace, although I think there was some thought coming in that maybe this would not be a BMW track, and maybe in years past that might have been true, but this M4 has proven to be extremely well-rounded.
It really has. We always looked at the Mercedes in terms of GT3 competition to be the car that seemed to be suited pretty much everywhere you go. They didn't really have a weak circuit, but certainly the BMW is kind of evolving into that as the team is getting their arms wrapped around it. 2nd year of competition with this car, and there's a new Evo on its way for next season as well, so maybe they'll improve the pace even more.
Yeah, that's right. They're looking to improve the drivability of the car, better tire wear. That's the focus, according to BMW, on that Evo that's coming. Jens Klingman's been doing the driving, primarily the test driving on that. Available for customers starting in 2025. This has been a big year for this man, Will Turner. This team that he has been overseeing for decades now overtook Schnitzer Motorsport as the team with the most BMW race starts in history. Remarkable.
It really is. And Will just, he has a fun group there. They work hard, they're at the top level, but they have a bit of fun along the way.
Maybe more than a bit sometimes.
Yes. Real character. Don Salama, the engineer there. Excuse me, the strategist there. Jay O'Connell, the engineer. Top guys really get the job done.
Starting to tighten up a bit here, though. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, with Tom Sargent hanging about as well. Cars in different classes, though, we should note. Verhagen is 2nd in Pro-Am. Kenton Cook in the Random Vandals BMW, looking threatening once again. That car is the leader in the Pro class, and it's a nice gap back to the 63, which is 2nd in class. That's the Corvette at the back of the shop there. We're just past 30 minutes into this race. Let's talk pit stops then, Calvin, because we should be talking about pit stops occurring in, what, 20 minutes or so?
I think less than that for someone who's going to try and do the early start. 51:14 left in this race, so that's about 8 minutes away. However, you saw Justin Rothberg looking pretty cozy there and chill, sitting on the pit box. You'd expect the pros who are starting their stints here to lay out there for another 10 minutes or so. They're going to try and maximize the 50 minutes, or there need to be 40 minutes or more left on the board. You can't afford to make that first stop any later than that.
Let's look at our race vision powered by AWS. Best laps of the race so far. Robbie Foley the quickest, but then it's the Ferrari of Agostini, the BMW of Kenton Cook, Tom Sargent in the Porsche, and the BMW of Verhagen. So yes, 3 BMWs, but also the mid-engined Ferrari and the rear-engined Porsche. Nice mix at the front of this field.
Yeah, and you can see how close it is. So hats off to all of the technical committee who put together the balance of performance numbers. But right now, Robbie Foley, he's having a solid run here, but has not been a smooth weekend for his teammate Justin Rothberg. He's had 3 races so far and been involved in a lot of incidents along the way, not all of his doing.
A wild weekend, he termed it when I talked to him earlier. That sums it up well. They've had the pace. They're just looking to put it all together for a full race distance.
Kenton Cook is really working all of the angles, so to speak, in terms of trying to maneuver that BMW through these corners a little bit more effectively. It's a real science project for these drivers behind the wheel, just to try different lines and experiment. And as the track evolves, as the tire wear starts to take play, as the fuel load goes away, sometimes that will equalize things in terms of tire performance, maybe dropping off a bit, but the car's a little bit lighter, so you get that performance back in terms of the lap time.
Mention the different platforms racing in this battle right here. For the BMW, it's a 3-liter straight 6 twin turbo power plant, roughly 590 horsepower depending on balance of performance. Of course, up in the very front of this car, as you'd expect. Agostini in the Ferrari 296. That's also a twin-turbo V6. And then you've got the flat 6 Porsche here at the back of this picture. Mid-engined V8 Corvette playing around. So just a fun mixture of cars. It's one of the things that makes GT3 racing really enjoyable right now, is the number of manufacturers involved. And because of the balance of performance system, the OEMs, they can take whatever they build to the racetrack and feel like they've got a chance, if they build a good car, to be within the performance window.
Yeah, it's a real melting pot of the manufacturers and the various power plants, as you mentioned there. Look at Elliott Skier. I haven't seen him really run the curve through there. He's just trying to kind of hook that front end and get it to carve the corner a little bit more effectively. So even though he hasn't been here in what do you say, 10 years or so, he's still trying to figure out a better solution here to getting his way around this racetrack right now. Kenton Cook's dropped back a little bit. Agostini's a little bit closer, and the pressure's off for Hagen momentarily, at least.
It must have happened on this lap, because their last lap times were really close together for Hagen and Cook. Looks like Kenton's gathered it back up, though, whatever the cause may have been. He continues his pursuit, getting closer to pit stops here at Barber. Well, it's been a remarkable run. 7 straight wins for this Pro Class DXDT Racing Corvette. Tommy Milner's in the car now, and Alec Udell is with Amanda.
Well, they're currently sitting 6th on the grid and P2 in class. And Alec, could this be the biggest challenge yet for your effort?
You know, I think it could be, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a hot day here at Barber. As we're standing in the sun, just saying that before the interview started. It's tough to pass here. The tracks are very tight. The cars are very close. And so I think, you know, Tommy's doing a great job out there, and it's going to come down to just being quick at the end and seeing what we can extract out of our Corvette.
Yeah, good luck. And Calvin, I liked how you were saying at the beginning of the race that 7 wins in a row for this effort. That's impressive, no matter what duo it is. If they make it 8, you'll know it was worked for here today.
Yeah, they'll have to fight for it, that's for sure. I think this could be the guy we see climbing aboard the soonest of those that will be doing the second stint. This is Philip Ellis. Look to see Jeff Burton make the call to the pit lane as soon as the rules allow it.
Yeah, he's about 45 seconds back of the leader. We've got 25 laps on the board, so I'd say that's a pretty impressive run. Less than 2 seconds per lap delta between he and the average pace of our leader, Robbie Foley. So That was a really solid run for Jeff. Definitely his strongest weekend that I've seen out of him, maybe in his career, to be honest with you. I mean, he's had some great runs in the past, but this has been super impressive with the pace he's had here.
Their last 5 races: 3rd VIR Race 1, the overall win in Race 2, 4th in Road America Race 1, 3rd in Race 2, and then 4th yesterday. They have not finished worse than 4th since Circuit of the Americas in May.
Yeah, and some of those races, they've been within 10 minutes or so. I mean, I know it's a 90-minute race, so you can't call it after 80, but they've been in position to win. They just need a little break with the yellow, and but it's been very close, and it's getting closer to this strategy working out.
I think it has been a success using this alternate strategy. If you look at the last few years of Jeff's GT3 career, he's had some podiums. There have been a few, but they're few and far between, whereas this year, that podium tally is up to 4. And they've got that win, too. So it definitely has worked out. I know I like it because it gives us something to keep tabs on. And, you know, I give him credit for thinking of it and then sticking with it over the course of the season.
Really solid run here by Neil Verhagen. It seems like the ST Racing Machine doesn't quite have that ultimate pace that the Turner Motorsports car of Robbie Foley has, but he has not put a foot wrong. They need a really strong day here today. Bounce back after a difficult first day here on Saturday and losing a bundle of those points. Got penalized for moving out of line, Samantha Tan did, then she got into the side of Rothberg, turned him, so it's 2 drive-through penalties, put them essentially almost a lap down. They did in fact fall a lap down before Samantha was able to jump out the race car and turn it over to Neil. So they just need a really solid day.
It took until the first race at Road America for them to finish off the podium this year. The run of success that they had to start the season was remarkable. So super out of character for them to have an off day yesterday. Their first finish off the podium, race 1 at Road America, there was all that rain, if you recall. It was a really difficult day from a strategic perspective to know what to do, and I think they took a bit of a gamble, didn't pay off. They still were able to finish 5th. But 7th yesterday after 2 drive-through penalties to start the race. That was ultimately too much to overcome, but still a 36-point lead coming into today.
See Tom Sargent hanging tough with this little pack here. 2nd through 5th overall. Kenton Cook, the only pro class car in amongst that quartet. And you'd have to think that maybe there's a little bit more pace in these cars that are following. You get that aero wash. We're inside the window where pit stops can start to happen. I mean, at the second drive, by the time you suffice the 74-second minimum stop time, the second drive will be leaving pit lane with less than 50 minutes on the board.
Zach Veach's day is done. Racer's Edge making the call. You can see Regulator Racing setting up for car 91 as well. I think Trent Hinman is in. That's very interesting that they're going to go ahead and turn that car over to Jake Peterson. Here's the driver exchange, that giant seat insert going from the diminutive Zach Veach to the lanky Luca Mars. That's what caught them out at Road America, if you remember. Delayed their pit stop and might have cost them a win. Looks like it went smoothly this time.
Yeah, the seat insert just got wedged and just threw them off and cost them dearly. It'll be a handful of seconds before they launch. I mean, everything is good. Little software on board that will tell the drivers that they're good to go at the pit lane speed limit and not be underneath that number.
Looks like outstanding pit work by Racer's Edge. When you sit and wait that long, that means your tire change, your driver exchange, everything was done perfectly.
Now we'll see what Philip Ellis can do here. He's been absolutely magic all season long aboard this Mercedes. What a year he has put together, Ryan.
Oh, absolutely unbelievable. If it's a big race in GTs, there's a good chance Philip Ellis has won it this season. He won his class in the 24 hours of Daytona, the 12 hours of Sebring, 6 hours of Watkins Glen, 24 hours of Spa. That's a good career.
Yeah,
and he did it in one season.
Pit stop action here. Wasn't sure we were going to see that this early for Random Vandals, but Kenton Cook is in. Connor Daly jumping on board. I think I saw the 63 car in as well of Tommy Milner, so they're going to try and get some Fresh Pirelli's on the car, and let Alec Yodel go to work with the form of an undercut there. Choxy's in, Oberlin getting on board.
It's the final year of tire warmers in the championship, so I do wonder if some of this strategy changes next year, takes some of the punch out of the undercut, pun intended.
But there's not a lot to find, because these Pirellis have been phenomenal on a tire that was thought to be in trouble here at this very abrasive circuit. Has really hung on incredibly well. I mean, Foley's been running lap times typically within about half a second of his best at the very end of this stint, so that's remarkable.
Pit lane minimum is what?
74 seconds.
Little hang up for the 99 then. Kenton Cook taking, Connor Daly taking over for Kenton Cook. That took about 2 seconds, a little over 2 seconds longer than the Udell pit stop.
Now just shy of it, nothing though, like 300s. That turns into 3/10 post-race time penalty, but you think, well, you know, you're just underneath it, but if someone else is a second outside, it's still a net gain. The only way it could hurt you is if you're finishing the race under caution and you're line astern.
What this did, this delay, slight delay though it was in the pits, is it has brought Alec Udell that much closer to Connor Daly. Remember, these two finished in the opposite order in the race yesterday, with Milner just barely hanging on and fending off Kenton Cook. Today, though, the job is Connor Daly's to try and finish, with Alec Udell charging hard, looking for an 8th consecutive win.
Yeah, and pressure's going to be on Connor here. He's certainly up to that challenge to get that BMW up to speed.
Adam Adelson, Jake Peterson have found one another on the track. Actually, that's still Elliott Skier. That explains why these two are together. So Skier has not yet pitted.
Yeah, I think they're a lap different right
Correct.
now. Skier's hanging out there, just trying to lay down some lap times. He's got Milner out of the way now in terms of the earlier pit stop of the 63 car. So now what can Elliott Skier do? They're essentially looking at the overcut with just clean air and tires that are up to temperature.
And a fast driver behind the wheel, although the report was maybe this car was held up, Skier's car was held up slightly by some traffic leaving the pits. This car 28 under review, this is what we forecasted. This is Bill Oberlin taking over for Varun Choksi, and they were just slightly under that minimum time. So much so, it's within that 1 second threshold where it's a post-race time penalty rather than a drive-through, and it's a fairly minuscule penalty. You forecast just a few tenths of a second.
3/10 of a second, essentially. 3100ths underneath. You multiply that by 10 post-race.
Oberlin pushing. We talk a lot about regulator racing doing the alternate strategy. Speaking of which, here it is, Philip Ellis doing what he does. He's the fastest car at the moment, freshly installed, and he'll do what he does best, which is put his head down and charge. But Bill Oberlin, Varun Choksi, they too are on that same alternate strategy, because in the pro class here in America, you do need to run one silver graded driver. That is Choksi in that lineup. So they got his drive time done early, and they'll let Bill Oberlin do his thing here in the second stint.
And again, with 40 minutes left on the clock, you've had to have your driver come down pit lane and break the line. Service doesn't have to be completed by then, but you have to at least be on pit lane.
This is a bit of a risk for Wright Motorsports, keeping Elliott Skier out, because a yellow would be devastating to their chances today.
It really would, but they obviously feel that Elliott's pace behind the wheel, even on Pirellis that are well worn, is up to the task. It gives them a net gain versus doing the driver change right now. That's no disrespect to Adam Adelson. It's just the pace that Elliott Skier is able to wrestle out of that Porsche at the moment.
They view it as a risk worth taking, and Skier's pace certainly merits that line of thinking, but should there be a yellow before the pit stop sequence is complete, that would put them on a back foot. That said, these races have been quite clean this year, and that's going to factor into their thought process.
Couple more laps are possible for Foley here. I think third would be squeaky tight, a third one, but we'll see what they look to do.
And when you do start to push the envelope with something like that, again, a safety car could cause a major problem. A spin would be devastating. It could cause you to miss that drive time.
Safety car that jumps out, I mean, if there's a problem on the racetrack, you can get your driver in, doesn't hurt you. But if the safety car just is immediately released and catches you as a leader or one of the front-running cars or a car that's not yet made its pit stop, that's what will arrest your speed and cost you ultimately compared to the field that has pitted.
On the track, the first car that has made a pit stop would be Connor Daly down in 9th. Everyone in front of Connor still owes a pit stop. And that will come in the next lap or two.
Yeah, and looking at the lap times here, Alec Udell was a couple of tenths quicker than Connor Daly, so Turner Motorsports don't force the issue anymore, want to play it relatively safe. Justin Rothberg has done a really great job here this weekend, been super solid. We talked about it's not been the smoothest weekends, but that's just been through incidents, not pace. He's been really up on the wheel, certainly compared to the other AMs in this field.
A few others are going to push that envelope, though. Verhagen, Augustini, Sargent, Skier, they all stay on track and will push for at least, well, at most, really, the one more lap.
22.8 for Elliott Skier, deep into the race. Only less than 2 tenths off his best lap of the race. That is phenomenal.
That's what they're going to need to make this work and vault them up the order, trying to hang on to what has become a tenuous points lead late in the season. The Indy 8 Hour is an unpredictable beast. We've seen that in years past. It's double points. It's the longest distance race of the year. You have additional entries coming from all over the world. It just adds that extra variability, so any points cushion you can go into that race with will serve you well.
Bit of a slow release there. I saw the thumbs up earlier than really. Lost about 7 tenths there on there, so I think it's just a little bit of a slow getaway there by Justin, but not too devastating. Looking at the gap here between Connor Daly and Elliott Skier, it's about 65 seconds. And you're going to be on pit lane for 74. Less the delta, so it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. By the time Adelson comes out of pit lane, it's going to be really tight with Connor Daly and Alec Udell.
When we see the 120 come into the pits, what about Verhagen and Augustini? Sargent, looks like they've stayed out.
Okay, they should be able to just squeak it. It's going to be tight, but they're utilizing every single lap their pros' performance can give them here.
Right Motorsports going to work, one of the best teams in the business. This is the changeover from Skier to Adelson.
Great job by Skier. He just really, it was hammer time, as they call it in Formula One, for Elliott Skier, and he got the job done. That was an awesome stint.
This team very nearly won the Pro-Am Championship a year ago, came up just a little bit short. That had a lot to do with how the Indy 8 Hour played out, of course. Shear stepping up to the pro class. They're the points leaders. They've controlled the championship from Sonoma. We watch, we watch. And here comes Daly, here comes Udell. But the Porsche does seem closer. The strategy at least has got them in the conversation. Now everyone else, it's a land rush into the pits.
Yeah, look at the clock, just 10 seconds left on the board, probably about 15 as they trip the line, so they took every advantage they could with the speed of these pros starting their race cars. How will this one shake out for the Pro-Am? Class lead, Justin Rothberg trying to get up to speed. Foley had established a nice gap of about 5 to 6 seconds. But now you've got kind of the overcut by Neil Verhagen and company. Will that pay a dividend here? Could be awfully close when Sam Tan comes out of the pit lane along with Toledo, along with Washington. How close will they be to Rothberg?
Not if it depends on how clean the pit stop is. ST Racing's been really good this year. GMG, plenty of experience as well on that pit wall. Car dropped off the jacks. Waiting on fuel here for ST Racing. They too will wait. Looks like good execution for these teams. And Samantha Samantha is away.
Here comes Rothberg down the front straightaway, crosses the stripe right now. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a battle up into turn 2 here.
It sure will, and Samantha Tan comes across the bow of Justin Rothberg. This is for the overall lead and the lead in Pro-Am. These two came to blows yesterday, and they are fighting for the championship. These are the top 2 cars in Pro-Am this year.
Rothberg has tire temperature, he has tire pressure. Elects to go around the outside. It's going to be tough to Samantha Tan to get the power down. Washes out, she is pushing hard, but Rothberg gets the traction, gets the power down in that BMW and slices in front of her.
Turner back around ST Racing, but very soon the Pro Class cars will arrive on the scene, led by Connor Daly for Random Vandals, and he's got Alec Udell in tow.
Udell pushing, trying to find some speed in that Corvette. Can he wrestle that lead away from Connor Daly and they can go 8 straight?
Studio Toledo out in front of this car. Adam Adelson, different classes though. Adelson is ahead of the Racer's Edge car of Luca Mars. So he would be on the podium as they run.
Rothberg here has the track position over Samantha Tan. Look how tight this is now. Udell has got a big run on Connor Daly. Daly has to protect coming down the front straightaway here. He's got to deal with this traffic and not open up the door for Alec Udell at the same time.
This is for the Pro Class lead. 99 is Daly. The Corvette is Alec Udell, the winner of the last 7 races. Daly is very inexperienced in GT machinery. He's done some Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's done some sports car racing here and there. But this is something he is still learning. And part of that learning process is going to be dealing with this traffic and all the dirty air it's creating.
Yeah, 2 AM drivers in front of him. He should probably have about a second advantage in ultimate lap time, but he's still got to manage it. He's got to pick his position when he tries to get through here and not open up the door for Alec Udell, who's going to be looking to pounce.
And making it that much more difficult is the fact that the 2 cars in front of him are fighting for position amongst themselves, and they are in the thick of a title battle. As we predicted, shortstop post-race penalty coming the way of the 28. About 0.3 of a second will be added to their race time. That's Bill Auberlin down in 10th right now in the overall order and 5th in Pro. Oh, Daly sees an opening, and he's going to go up the inside of Samantha Tan here. Udell tries to follow him through. Samantha gives them plenty of room.
That was not ideal there for Samantha Tan. She had done a great job of hanging on to the coattails there of Justin Rothberg. Now she tries to come back. Alec Udell has to give it up. Worked out well there for Connor Daly, just how the timing worked with Udell having to go around the outside on the dirty line through 17.
Connor read that really, really well. And Samantha was pretty generous with both Daly and Udell.
Daly trying to make a move here on Rothberg. 2 pretty much identical BMWs, so the performance and acceleration should be about the same. It's all about execution from the driver's seat right now in carving his way through, and Udell has pounced once again. He's caught Daly here.
Down through the museum complex. Museum off to the left. Houses just an unbelievable, immaculate collection of race cars and motorcycles, and offers a great view of this racetrack, which is putting on a show at the moment. Rothberg leads overall and in Pro-Am. Then the battle for the lead in Pro with Daly and Udell. Hammer and tongs, they're at it again.
Rothberg there taking that title line through 16, doesn't open up. Udell around the outside, trying to open it up. Daly slices to the inside, gets the position on Rothberg. Udell should clear him as well down the front straightaway, but maybe not. This could be huge for Connor Daly if Udell doesn't get through, but he does.
Alec knew he had to go. This now brings Samantha Tan right back to Justin Rothberg. So the top 2 in the 2 classes that are still represented in this race, they run nose to tail, Daly and Rothberg, and then, Daly and Udell, Rothberg and Tan.
Tan looks menacing here. She has really done a great job on these opening laps of getting up to speed quickly, keeping the pressure on Rothberg, dust flying there off turn 6.
Speaking of to speed quickly, Daly, now that he's in clear air, has scampered away. He's starting to build a gap over the Corvette.
Wow, you're right. Just launched away there. Now he's got clean air on the front end of that BMW. Has the overall lead and the Pro Class lead at the same time. And right behind the leading duo, we have the battle for the Pro-Am victory, 2 BMWs. The 38 car is the championship lead, the 29 car in chase mode. Made up a bundle of points here yesterday, but they've got to finish ahead of that 38 car here today if they've got a hope going into Indianapolis. The lead right now is 36 points. If they win with the 38 behind it, it'd be down to 29. If they lose that, it'd be up to 43. That is a huge swing.
And Samantha Tan is looking confident. She is hunting now, looking inside, looking outside. That number 38 looks planted. She closes in again on the Turner Motorsport BMW of Justin Rothberg, fighting for the lead in class.
We've seen Justin so many times this year, whether it's in Fanatec GT or in GT America, have that track position and not be bullied. Doesn't make mistakes. He seems very poised when the pressure is on. He doesn't crack typically.
Kyle Washington on the last lap made the pass on Custodio Toledo. That moves him into third in Pro-Am, and he is hot on the heels of Luca Mars, who started on the front row overall yesterday.
The driver to watch out for, though, is Bryson Morris, now aboard the 64 car. He's only just under 3 seconds behind Toledo and Washington, and on the march, his last laps were 3-4 seconds quicker than that duo in front of him.
He's running some really strong lap times, is Bryson Morris. Here's Philip Ellis. He's charged through the field, now well and truly getting underway. He's caught Elias Sabo here. Elias in the Flying Lizard BMW, Philip Ellis in the Mercedes, backs out of it here. Looked like he had a decent run, but couldn't pull alongside, and this is not a place you want to be side by side. How about this though? Fight for the lead is on once again. Samantha Tan looks inside of Rothberg, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, so tough. If you're alongside is one thing, but if you're just gaining momentum, it's hard to send it there. The rolling speed through the apex of turn 1 is really high, about 100 miles an hour. It's about 135 miles an hour approach speed. Then you plunge down the hill through turn 3, then you crest the hill into turn 5. This is an intense battle here for the Pro-Am lead and potentially the championship scenario as well. Rothberg is struggling for grip here. He does not have the car handling like Samantha does at this phase of the race.
Rothberg slipped in the middle of the corner. It looked like Samantha might be able to carve that tighter line through the turn and get alongside Rothberg, but she wasn't quite able to do so. Rothberg still able to hang on. Think about all the battles he's been in though this year, especially in GT America, racing against veteran drivers like Johnny O'Connell and Jason Dascalos. You wonder why some of these drivers do both series? Well, it's for moments like these. He's now battle-tested despite the fact he's a GT3 rookie.
Yeah, it's not just extra seat time on a particular weekend. It's all about those experiences, driving against some of the more experienced drivers in our sport, let alone the class or the weekend. So he's learned a lot. He's been battle-scarred a little bit this weekend, but even so, you know, if he can just settle in here, and you have to wonder when you're running that close behind, are you taking the edge off your tires for Samantha Tan in terms of what her performance might be as we dig deeper into this race?
He was quite candid talking with Amanda this weekend, was Justin Rothberg. I thought this was going to be a learning year. I wasn't thinking about a championship when the season began. And if you look at the results, they were all right in the early part of the season. But as the year hit the midway point, he basically had run a full season there. If you factor in half a season of GT America, half a season here at Fanatec GT, the light bulb went off, and Justin Rothberg is now a championship contender, not just here in Fanatec GT, but in GT America too.
You know, I think you have to give a lot of credit to the whole Turner Motorsports Group and that man we're looking at right there, Robbie Foley, on the headset, talking Justin through this, calming him down, just saying, hit your marks, just think about it. She's got the same performing race car as you, just don't make the critical error. Keep it clean, recognize where she's threatening, just hold station. Don't make a mistake. This is huge. There's a 14-point swing here in one change of position in the race today and for the championship.
Absolutely. Massive moment in the context of this season-long battle. In the background, Adam Adelson is getting closer and closer. He's running good lap times, not fast enough to trouble the top 2 in his class, but it should be enough to secure a podium. And you'd better believe that the Wright Motorsports Group are big Random Vandals fans right now, because Connor Daly is taking 7 points off of Alec Udell as they run.
Rothberg's struggling. He's really struggling to hold line through some of these corners. He's sticking it in there and he's having to wait. He can't get back to power. He's having to wait for the car to carve the corners. You can see right now, he's getting super defensive here down into the brake zone. This is just going to compromise his lap time even more and give Samantha Tan hope that she can make this move for the win.
28.5 minutes to go. Philip Ellis continues to move forward. He's down in 11th overall, having just passed Jake Peterson for the next spot in that class.
Yeah, but I think the driver to keep an eye on is Bryson Morris.
Yes.
He's running lap times faster than Philip Ellis at the moment, and he's currently 3rd in Pro-Am, and he is only 15 seconds back of Samantha Tan and running lap times about a second a lap faster.
So if Samantha thinks she is faster than Rothberg, that's going to give her extra incentive to make a move sooner rather than later.
She runs that higher line, cuts in later through 16, and that gives you the thought of diving down the inside through that final corner.
That's the move that Zach Veach used to pass Varun Choksi for 3rd yesterday. Zach told me that is the quintessential way we set up passes in an IndyCar race, to swing wide and time the exit and kind of throw it there at the apex of turn 17. He said it caught Varun out. Varun wasn't super thrilled with the move, but he showed him the onboard, and Varun had to kind of tip his hat and say, you know what, upon further review, that was actually pretty sweet. Adelson has caught the top 2 in Pro-Am here. And she is caught up with a very interested spectator in this battle. Robbie Foley on the radio with Justin Rothberg, but he'll hop off for a moment to talk with Amanda. Oh, hang on, Amanda, 1 second. We've got a spin on track. It's Elias Sabo who is off. We'll see if this leads to a caution or if he can get this refired. I don't believe there's any gravel trap there.
No, I mean, it looks like a brown color, but I think it's just the grass and the camera angle we're looking at. So if he can get it fired up, he should be able to move again.
We'll take the opportunity to check in with Amanda, though, now.
Yeah, and Robbie Foley's keeping apprised of the situation as well. And I saw you very active on the radio there with Justin Rothberg. What were you saying to your teammate?
Just coaching him through it, where he might be strong, where he's weak, just watching on the cameras. But Josh is doing a great job. He's had a great season, really improved a lot since Sonoma. So we're just trying to claw back that points deficit after VIR, basically. And yeah, so far so good. Hopefully he can hang on. Either way, he's doing a great job.
There's a ton of action going on behind him. How are you able to tell him to keep his focus forward?
Yeah, it's very difficult to pass here. So if he just focuses forward and drives kind of his line and his race, it's difficult to pass. So there's some pros catching the group of the two of them. So he's just got to be smart how he lets them go. It's very difficult to pass here. It's an awesome track here at Barber Motorsports Park, but it's very tight. Not a lot of straightaways, not a lot of big brake zones to make moves. So yeah, fingers crossed.
I was talking to the Leda Creek team just off camera and saying that also the threat from Samantha Tan, at least Justin knows what another BMW can do here, so he can anticipate what Samantha might be able to do here.
And he'll have a moment to think about it because we are under safety car at Barber. Double yellows displayed at start finish. Elias Sabo cannot get his car refired. This is great news for Philip Ellis. This is great news for Bryson Morris. A couple of cars that were
Bill
fast.
Oberlin.
That did, yes, and Bill Oberlin. Fast that did not have track position, but now any gaps that had developed will be closed up. And this will make for a thrilling run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, for the drivers now, it's all about prepping these tires, keeping them clean. Just being ready for this restart. Don't expect this situation to take long to clean up and get Elias out of harm's way. Hopefully we can get him fired back up and get back into the action. It's going to give Bryson Morris a real chance of getting onto that Pro-Am podium. He's got 3 pro cars in front of him right now. But if they can clear Rothberg and Tan, that should allow Bryson to close right up on them. He's in a podium position run right now, but he'd love to follow up and make it 3 in a row for he and Brian Sellers. Brian Sellers has his family here this weekend, his wife Jamie, son Liam, daughter Mila. Saw them yesterday. They're to be happy watching Dad win the big race.
And it's been nice to see him have some of the success on the SRO side that we've become accustomed to seeing from him over at IMSA. This is Race Vision powered by AWS, and the progress that Philip Ellis already has made. Took over the car in 15th. It's up to actually I think he would have been in 14th. He's up to 11th, and now crucially the big gap that had developed is erased. This should be a pretty quick yellow too, which is also what Regulator Racing was hoping to see. And Philip Ellis then will just have to pick his way through this field carefully, because as many have mentioned, it is difficult, not impossible, but difficult to make a clean pass here at Barber.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Get the calculators out, see what he needs to do. He does have a bundle of cars still to get through, and to Robbie Foley's point, it is not easy to pass around here. Even if a car maybe is a second off your pace, does not make it easy. We saw that with Connor Daly trying to fight his way through. Looking at that car, looked like Sable may have hit something. Is that left front askew, I think?
Yeah, there might be more to this than we initially thought, and that might explain why that car wasn't able to carry on. It looks like that cleanup is progressing, but not at the rate I anticipated, certainly. We do at least one more lap behind the safety car here. Now for Connor Daly, this would be a special result as he tries to figure out what the future holds for him in motorsports. We do have a look here at the incident. Not sure if we heard anything. I only hear the slide.
Hear it now.
Doesn't look like it did hit anything.
I wonder if something broke.
Yeah,
It definitely looked like left front was not pointed in the right direction, unless my eyes were deceiving me.
Well, Kenton Cook's already a winner today. He won in Pirelli GT4 America. He's got a chance to double up. He's standing by with Amanda.
Ryan Tossett with a congratulations on your win in Pirelli GT4. Looking for another one here today. What have you talked to Connor about on this restart?
Well, I mean, he's definitely, he knows what he's doing on restarts, but, you know, here we are, and it's, with the Pirelli, there certainly can be a bit of pickup, and I think any tire can have a bit of pickup with the way this track is and whatnot, so just kind of told him a little bit of how to get that pickup off. It's very difficult, but, you know, he's a pro, he knows what he's doing, so I have all the faith in him to be able to bring it home here. Hopefully we can get a win for these guys. They've been working really hard. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of bad luck on some of the with our other GT4 cars, so hopefully we can bring a win to make things a little less salty.
Based on what you're seeing in the chemistry between you and Connor Hill this weekend, how excited does this make you for Indy?
I mean, it's super fun. Like, he's obviously super fun guy to work with, great personality. He likes football, I don't, but I don't know. He definitely was a little bit disappointed in me, so I might have to step up my fantasy game. Yeah, it's been fun working with him. Professional IndyCar driver. It's pretty neat for sure. But yeah, I think we'll see how the rest of the season goes, and yeah, to have Connor DeFelipe there is going to definitely be you know, another hot shoe in the car.
Thank you. There you go, the third driver, guys.
Amanda, make sure Kenton knows not to tell Connor the score of the Colts game. Connor's a big Colts fan. Unless he wants to make him angry. Maybe he wants to make him angry, but I wouldn't recommend it. We're about to restart this race. 20 minutes to go. Connor Daly at the front of the field. Alec Udell looking for an 8th straight win. Gets a pretty good jump there. Battle further back. This could be for position. Oberlin, Mars, Adelson, all squirming back and forth looking for a lane. Here comes Luca Mars for a spot on the podium. Fighting with the points leader, Adam Adelson.
Look at that. Oberlin's trying to fire through the inside there. Adelson has opened up the door possibly for Oberlin on Luca Mars. There's the accelerate. There's a touch. Mars is off into the weeds a little bit, trying to recover.
He kept his foot in it, though. It didn't seem to cost him too much momentum. In the meantime, a good getaway from Connor Daly, who continues to lead overall. This is a couple of teammates swapping spots.
Samantha Tan there dropping down the order a little bit as those pro cars are filing through, and it's given Justin Rothberg a little bit of a gap there for the lead in Pro-Am.
Mars now works his way past Samantha Tan as well.
There's Philip Ellis. This is the move on Bryson Morris, I believe. That is for position.
Oh, yeah. This would be 8th overall, 3rd in class, if I'm reading that right. Oh, Peterson way up on the curb. He's got some right front damage to that car too.
This is not what Neil Verhagen and Samantha Tan needed with this compression of the field.
Nope.
That's putting a podium run even under threat right now.
Here comes Ellis to the inside of Samantha Tan now.
Ooh, that was tight there. Down into that final corner. I ain't sure which car it was. It might have been Oberlin trying to make a move there to the inside.
Drag race down the front straightaway here. Adelson to the outside, Oberlin to the inside, and Oberlin is through. That was for position.
Oberlin is on the attack, up into a podium run right now. Fellow BMW driver, long-time Turner Motorsport driver Bill Oberlin now on the attack for ST Racing. Trying to move that car forward. He wants to get around Rothberg, go chase down Daly and Udell for the win possibly.
Carbon fiber flying everywhere. Here comes Philip Ellis. He continues to charge. The lead in class is not that far ahead. It's the Lady Creed BMW right there, center of the screen, but there are 3 cars that Ellis needs to clear in order to get there.
Samantha Tan getting back into rhythm. Next car behind her is Bryson Morris. That would be for the final position on the podium in Pro-Am as Rothberg leads. Look at that, Oberlin all over the curb there, runs out wide, keeps his foot in it.
Wow, but here comes Adelson. He's trying to get that spot back. In the meantime, Ellis swings wide, working his way around Luca Mars. He grabs that position in the overall order. That's not for class position, but Ellis needs to clear this out-of-class traffic in order to challenge Rothberg for the win.
What a recovery there from Bill Oberlin. Tried to fire it through that chicane, lost the front end behind Rothberg, ran into the grass, managed to just get it back online and slow everyone up as they approach turn 13 and 14.
Daly, Udell, then it's the leader in Pro-Am, Rothberg. Bill Oberlin sits next in line, with Adam Adelson in the number 120 being hounded right now by the second place Pro-Am car of Philip Ellis on that alternate strategy.
Ellis can see the Pro-Am lead there, that bright blue and black BMW. Rothberg lets Oberlin go. That clears the way for Oberlin to try and chase down the class leaders. Ellis gets around Adelson. Next car in line is the lead in Pro-Am. Ellis on the march here. Can they get their second victory of the year?
Adelson has to settle back in, get into rhythm. The car behind him is for position. Remember, Adelson and Skier are trying to hang on to the points lead. Right now, their closest pursuers are Udell and Milner, who sit second on the road. So Adelson will need to keep Mars behind to try and limit the damage.
Look at Ellis all over the shadow of that BMW, harassing Rothberg here for the lead. What a drive by Philip Ellis. How hard, how quickly does he push to try and grab the lead? He's immediately on the inside. Beautiful, carves it to the inside, takes the lead.
Oh, there was no doubt he was going to go for that move. He is clear, he's in the lead. Jeff Burton smiles. Why not, Jeff? You lead this motor race.
Wow, Philip Ellis made quick work of that, immediately to the front. In the backdrop, you can see Bryson Morris aboard that Corvette closing in on Samantha Tan for that third position in class. Rothberg needs that to happen. He and Robbie Foley need that points gap going to Indy.
One thing to remember for Oberlin is he does have that post-race time penalty. It's not a big one, but even if he were to catch Udell and or Daly, he would have to be well clear, over 3/10 clear, in order to hang on to that position. That was for a short pit stop earlier in this race.
Yeah, Oberlin's been up on the wheel. I think he's found new life here in this phase of the season. Was very competitive at Road America. Had a great run here yesterday. He's starting to feel the beat of that BMW once again. That was a head scratcher. Why he didn't have the pace there for a few rounds this season.
Whatever it was, they've unlocked it now. He sets off once again. Meantime, Adelson is falling into the clutches of Luca Mars, and we know Luca's got strong pace. He started on the front row overall yesterday. And just a few laps ago, it looked like he was making a move that might put him on the podium. Connor Daly continues to lead. The gap now 2.1 seconds over Alec Udell. Connor starting to extend the advantage. I say that, but actually Udell is clawing back in. Just set that car's fastest lap. Then it's Oberlin third in class. Then you get to Ellis, who leads the way in Pro-Am. He's got Rothberg behind him. And then this battle for pro position with the 120 of Adelson and the 93 of Mars.
Yeah, those positions right there are super important. This one, the 93 car, if they can get around the 120 car, that's important for the championship. And then they're also behind with Samantha Tan and Bryson Morris. Huge implications in the championship picture, heading to the double point scoring race, the 8-hour Indianapolis.
In both cases, these are points leaders trying to salvage something on a day that has gone a bit sideways. Adelson and Skier, they just not had the pace that we're accustomed to this weekend. I say that, Skier actually was quite quick, but Adelson maybe not coming to grips with this track in the same way as his teammate. And similarly for Tan and Verhagen, they're seeing their championship rivals have a pretty good day. They need to hang on to this position if at all possible.
Luca Moaz absolutely firing there through that 10-11 chicane. Now he's trying to carve in, use the curb a little bit. Here's Bryson Morris, the youngster. How impressive has he been with this opportunity here with DXDT?
Well, let's put it this way. When the car has finished, they have won both races so far this year. And the reason they didn't finish the first one had nothing to do with Bryson Morris. Right now, they at least have a chance to keep that podium streak intact, but he's going to have to make one more pass to do so.
Yeah, and then don't discount the fact if he can get to Justin Rothberg as well. I mean, Rothberg has a bit of a buffer with those pro cars between he and Bryson Morris, so one thing at a time. Samantha Tan is not going to make this position easy for him.
Rothberg having the clean run at the very least that he was hoping for today, if not the win. The way the yellow fell came perfectly timed for the Philip Ellis, Jeff Burton strategy, and it could net them their second win of the season. At the front of this field, Connor Daly's lead is shrinking, but not by that much. Udell is closing in slowly, and I'm not sure it's quick enough.
No, on this lap so far, Connor's actually stretched up by 1/10 of a second through sector 1, pretty much identical through sector 2. So he has responded here. That one lap, Udell took a huge chunk out of that lead. But Connor has been up to the task here and has responded on this lap.
There he is. For Random Vandals Racing, just their second weekend racing at the GT3 level. Connor Daly, his first weekend as far as a race weekend goes with the team, although he's been associated with them for a long time, has raced WRL with them, actually was to run the Indy 8-hour a couple of years ago with them. Whoa, Samantha Tan goes off track. That opens up an opportunity here for Bryson Morris now.
Can he make it stick? Try and keep the flow here as they crest the hill. Does he think about a move down into the brake zone for turn 5? Does Samantha have to get defensive? No, she chooses the regular line there, out wide, carving the corner. Bryce not quite close enough to take advantage there with her little drop of the wheel.
Good recovery by Samantha, not to let it get in her head. Right back on the pace. And is doing just what she needs to do to hang on to another podium finish.
That's what I'm noticing more with her. She's been so impressive over the last couple of years, just really ramped up her game. But she'd have a little moment, maybe get off in the marbles, and that would kind of, not freak her out, but it'd take her a while to regroup, get back into a rhythm. She seems to recover quicker now.
Points as they run, Cal. I'm curious. With Udell in second and with Adelson in fourth, how much closer will the Corvette duo be?
I think it's a 6-point swing, right?
Yep.
Second to fourth.
And
so
it was 20 coming in.
Yeah, so it'll be down to 14. And it's a 14-point swing at Indy between first and second, and then Corvette would have the tiebreaker.
They
so
sure would.
If they win the way they run, if Corvette wins at Indianapolis, they would seal the championship, even if Adelson and Skier and company sit right behind them. Haven't heard who they're going to have on board. I assume Jan Heyland has got to be in the mix potentially there.
I'm not sure about that car. I do know who will be in the Corvette. I can't say it, but I'll tell you this, they're coming loaded for bear.
I think they got a few prize fighters to pick from.
Philip Ellis on the cusp of a second win for Jeff Burton and the Regulator Racing team. Amanda, what are you finding out down there in the pits?
Yeah, I did get over here to talk to Jeff to see if the restraints are all filled up to go for the overall win, and Jeff simply looked at me and said, no, no, no. We've done that once. We're happy with that. We want to finish first in class, and he said, plus there's stuff ahead of us that we don't want to get involved in. I tried to clarify, but what I assume that Jeff means on that is, listen, you know, that Corvette, it is kind of a sister team out here underneath that umbrella, and maybe with the championship implications there, you know, Jeff is making a call to Philip Ellis, hey, let's get our win and let them run their race as well.
That would make sense to me, Amanda. Thank you. There is Jeff Burton, who did his job. You said it, Cal. This has been a really good weekend for him. His pace relative to Philip, the difference is about as minimal as it's been all year. In the meantime, this is Jake Peterson now, who has tracked down Bryson Morris.
Look at the front nose on that Porsche, almost completely off.
It's been that way for a while. It hasn't gotten any better, but that's a big move there from Peterson. We've been singing the praises of Bryson Morris, but credit where credit is due. This has been a great stint for Peterson. Whoa! Mars took a look at Adelson, but couldn't make the pass. Daly, Udell, Oberlin, that's the top three in Pro Championship leaders.
Yeah,
certainly
the
120.
Too early.
That's right. There we go. As they run.
Yeah.
That looks right. Choxy and Oberlin would not be eliminated, but it would take some good luck for them. Bad luck for the others. With 50 points on offer at the 8 hour. Well, yeah, a lot still to be determined though. 7.5 minutes to go. What a run from Peterson.
Yeah, really impressive. I mean, there's so much talent in this field. Some of these drivers just need a few more reps, a few more races, and then they're really starting to demonstrate what sort of pace they have, and that's certainly the case with Jake Peterson here today.
He's drawing a beat on Samantha Tan, so if she thought her troubles were over, think again. Peterson is right there, tracking down the final step of the podium. Six and a half minutes to go. What a return it's been for sports car racing to Barber Motorsports Park. The paddock has loved being here. The drivers have enjoyed the challenge. And from where we're sitting, it's been a lot of fun. Great crowd on hand, too. Cool to see road racing in such a strong position. If we're talking sports cars, single-seaters, just across the board.
Here we go. Is this Daly?
It is.
The leader of the race is in. Udell's to the front.
Connor Daly forced to the pit lane.
Surely not fuel.
With 6 minutes to go, and all of a sudden, DXDT Racing looks poised for an 8th consecutive win.
Incredible. Can't imagine it's fuel. If they got the calculation a little bit too close, we did have that yellow, should have given them a little bit of fuel save. Crawling down pit lane, it's like he has no life on board that machine right now. Unbelievable. After a stellar drive, first by Kenton Cook and then Connor Daly, he rolls towards his pit box.
Well, Udell now in a position to score 25 points. It also does promote Adelson back to the podium in 3rd. Fuel going in. Could it be they just didn't get the fuel rig hooked up?
We had the yellow where if they were tight. Let's see if he fires to life now. Oh, no.
Just minutes away from victory. Connor Daly and Kenton Cook have to make a call to the pit lane for a splash of fuel.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that's really not a performance advantage. I mean, you got in terms of how long you're on pit lane, because you have plenty of time to get enough fuel on board. Here we see the 63 car, Alec Udell, so he just lost a complete lap there. Puts Alec Udell in position for his 8th straight victory.
Amanda, what are you hearing?
Yeah, just standing next to Paul Sparta, he said, we're pretty sure we got all the fuel into that BMW. We think it might be a pickup problem.
Wow. Well, the team does not have a lot of experience with this car. Plenty at the GT4 level, but GT3 is new.
Yeah, typically you're not topping it up though, because you don't need a full fuel load on these GT3 cars to do the stint length that we have this. So normally it's a timed fill. You don't want to carry extra weight, so I'm not, you know, contradicting what Paul Sparta is saying is in terms of we topped it up, but maybe they felt they got enough fuel on board. I mean, normally you're releasing that fuel hose without completely topping it up. Otherwise, you're carrying weight around that you don't necessarily need.
The thing is, with Udell now leading, the big jump in points you get for winning versus second, it's a 7-point difference, right? So even though Adelson is up on the podium, he actually comes off worse off.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a 6-point swing now. It's a 10-point swing. He gains 3, but Udell gains 7.
There you go. Wow. Well, it'll be
Down
that
to
much
10
tighter.
points. Yeah, 10 points, which again just works even more in the favor if Corvette goes ahead and grabs a 9th victory of the year. It's a 14-point swing between first and second with double points on the line at Indianapolis. But it's a long, long 8-hour race.
And we've seen just about everything. You know, and again, we talk about a lot the fact that you have to get halfway to be eligible to score points. And in a 90-minute race, that's not all that hard to do. But in an 8-hour race, there are so many more opportunities for things to go awry, especially then when you factor in the double points.
In the backdrop here, there's another critical battle right behind this little pro battle is Samantha Tan hanging on to position 2 in class. Jake Peterson putting the pressure on. There you see it right there. 10, Peterson, Morris.
Whoa.
That is for P2, 3, and 4 in class.
Peterson got into that aero wash, lost the nose, slid out wide and dropped a couple of tires, but kept his foot planted on the gas pedal as he chases Samantha Tan for the final step of the podium. Samantha Tan just trying to maximize her day. Whoa, this is huge. It's Luca Mars to the inside of Adam Adelson, and he is through. That brings the Corvette that much closer.
Incredible.
Adelson
2
fights
days in
back.
a row, they're going to finish 5th. Adelson's going to fight this one, but he can't afford to throw it all away. Under 2 minutes to go to the checkered flag.
Big move from Luca Mars. We might be watching a star of the future. He has been outstanding this year in this Acura. Doing this with no testing, by the way. This program limited on the budget that they can bring to the table, so they're doing their testing on race weekend alone. Mars goes in a little bit deep. Adelson trying with all he's got to fight back. And Samantha Tan's got a couple hungry cars lined up behind her, too.
Yeah, this is a championship performance by Samantha Tan, though. Putting it all in perspective, she drove brilliantly here today. Unfortunately, had those out-of-class cars separate her from Justin Rothberg, which has taken the pressure off Justin as he continues to run second in Pro-Am. They'll gain points, but she importantly needs to hang on to these last couple of positions here. Do not let Jake Peterson or Bryson Morris get in front of her before the checkered flag, but it's going to be close. We see the white flag fly.
1 lap to go at Barber. It's Alec Udell who inherited the lead when the Random Vandals BMW had to make the late call to the pit lane. This would be 8 wins on the bounce and continue an undefeated streak in the pro class for DXDT Racing. Oh, Peterson has had an issue. That bumper has totally left that Porsche 911. That has then put Morris back up into 4th place.
Did he get into Samantha Tan, or did it come adrift and cause him to have a moment?
It's a question I was pondering myself. Then, in the Pro-Am ranks, Philip Ellis still pushing hard, despite the fact he already leads in his class. This would be win number 2 on the season for Ellis and Jeff Burton and this Regulator Racing team.
A little strange that you don't typically see Philip Ellis driving off a corner like that. Seems to be all okay now. And with that pit stop for Random Vandals, not only gives Alec Udell the lead, it also gives Bill Oberlin P2 in this race. Great weekend for he and Varun Shoxi.
keeps them in the championship hunt as well into the final race weekend. Well, this one was not the dominant performance we've seen in previous races, but it's still going to be enough. 8 wins in a row for Alec Udell, Tommy Milner, and DXDT Racing. They crossed the line first here at Barber. Bill Oberlin will come home second, and in the Pro-Am class, Philip Ellis and Jeff Burton take their second win of the season for Regulator Racing, playing the alternate strategy to perfection. Big in the points here as Luca Mars will lead home Adam Adelson, and that sets up effectively a winner-take-all Indianapolis 8-hour between Alec Udell, Tommy Milner in the Corvette, and Adelson and Skier in the Porsche. You won't want to miss it. Samantha Tan did hang on over Bryson Morris for the final step of the podium, but Justin Rothberg and company, they didn't get that much closer. We'll have a great fight on our hands in the Pro-Am Class 2, and look at that smile. Brian Sellers there to congratulate Jeff Burton. It broke their way today, but they executed to take advantage.
Adelson finishes 4th of the 5-car field, so there's 12 points with a 13-point swing. It's down to 7 points. And with the double points, if you're up in the big point scoring positions, if the Corvette finishes in front, it could be enough for Indianapolis.
Well, we promised you drama, and Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, delivered. Tommy Milner, Alec Udell, an 8th straight win, but it was anything but straightforward today. Good result for Oberlin and Choksey. They used their alternate strategy well to get up to second. Ellis and Burton, their win doesn't help them as far as the championship goes, but it does help solidify them in third. Foldig and Rothberg inching a little bit closer. Another podium for Mars and Veach. That's their 5th in a row now. And then you find Adelson and Skier. The best they could muster is 4th here this weekend. And that massive advantage they have has been whittled away. Verhagen and Tan, 7th overall, but 3rd in the race to stay in the points lead. Headed to Indianapolis. Confirmation, by the way, from the Random Vandals team. The issue on the fueling was a fuel flow issue on the fueling rig that forced them to not get enough fuel in that car and caused Connor Daly to have to make a pit stop with less than 10 minutes to go while leading.
Yeah, because you're typically doing a time fill there because you don't want to fill the car completely. Normally when the refueler sees the bubbles, that's when the car's completely full. You're not looking for that. You're just going to get a tap on the shoulder saying that's enough. But if it wasn't flowing correctly, when you do the time, it's not flowing at the correct rate. You're not going to get enough fuel on board.
Well, well, well. After all of this, it comes down to 8 hours of racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 1 month from now, first weekend in October. There's Alec Udell. Not sure he saw this one coming. He ran a solid 2nd his whole stint. He was putting pressure on Connor Daly, but never really looked to be in a position to threaten for the lead of the race until Daly's fuel issues called him to the pit lane. And now the young Texan and his teammate Tommy Milner have won 8 races in a row. I'll go so far as to say that is K-Pax-esque if you go back a couple of seasons when K-Pax was dominating this series.
Great to see that Burton Lumber machine in victory lane once again. Jeff goes to the door, congratulate his teammate Philip Ellis. They have become great friends, great chemistry between these two. And getting the results, just the perfect scenario with that alternate strategy to catch that yellow, compress the field, and Philip Ellis carved through to the front pretty easily there.
This is the year of Philip Ellis. I mean, I rattled off those wins he's had this year. Just unbelievable. Years like this do not come very often, and he'll enjoy it. That's for sure. Well, for the 8th straight time, Amanda is chatting with Alec Udell and Tommy Milner in victory lane.
Yeah, I've been watching the eyes exchange between these guys, kind of in disbelief of what happened here today. And Alec, I'll come right to you. And you said to Tommy, we'll pick up the pieces where they are. Why is that the summary of today?
Yeah, I think that the Random Vandals car was just super fast. Connor and Kenton have been quick all weekend and really showed the pace in the race today. And we were just trying to hitch a line to them and drag as far as we could. And yeah, it's a bummer for them, but like I said, for us, Tommy, you know, we'll pick up the pieces and we'll take the win. I think you just take what comes to you, and we maximized, I think, where we had today, and just got lucky then that the 99 had an issue, which you never like to see from a racing perspective, but it's racing, as they say, and we've been on that side of the game before. I've been on that side of the game, all of us has, and it comes and goes. So great job to them, and really happy for the team, though. It's awesome.
8 wins in a row. The train keeps rolling for this Corvette. And Tommy, back to your stint to be able to put it in position to just be able to take advantage of what was given.
Yeah, it was very hard today for sure. We got lucky at the start. I had to hit twice on the left rear and thought something was broken or wrong, and I think the track was just super dirty at the start there. So lucky to kind of get away with that one there. And then, yeah, kind of as we expected based on pace to not be the quickest car. Alec did a great job. He had a great pit stop. This DXET team just excels in every area, and super proud to be a part of this race team, proud to drive this Corvette Z06 GT3R. Everyone keeps asking about the championship, and I didn't want to talk about it for a long time, and I think after today, luckily for us, things are just kind of falling in our hands. So now it's obviously a discussion, and excited to go to Indy with a good chance to win it.
It's now a 7-point deficit to the Porsche. I want to talk about the Indy 8-hour that is up ahead. Walk me through the strength that will be your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Alec's done a fantastic job all year long. This team has done a great job all year long. Whoever we have for the third driver, I don't know if it's announced yet, is another good driver, one that I know well, and Corvette racing fans will know pretty well as well. So driver lineup won't be a problem. Car won't be a problem. The team won't be the problem. It'll just be, you know, our pace once we get there and how we compare to everybody else. So excited to get there now. Excited to go racing there for 8 hours. Excited to go for a championship.
We'll see you at the 8-hour, Tommy. I like the little nudge there to try to figure out that third driver. I'm assuming that will be announced very soon to the delight of Corvette fans. And as we work our way in to find Jeff Burton, who for the second time this season, they find the podium and the top step of the podium. And Jeff, I talked to you just slightly prior to it, and you didn't release Phillip for the overall win, but I want to tell you what your driver said about you ahead of this week. And he said this has been the best weekend for you that he has seen. How true is that statement?
It is. Today, the whole weekend was probably my best drive. There's some things that you've just got to learn, and I've done this not for a long time. And when he's teaching you, if you'll listen, and it's taken a long time for me to kind of figure it out, because driving is not as easy as what people think. It's really a difficult deal. So today was really good. Fabulous.
What makes Phillip such a great teacher?
He's calm. I mean, when he's driving the car, it's so calm, and when he's teaching you, it's calm. He tells you to relax, get your breathing down. And for an amateur, that's a little bit tough on us. We get in the car and start sweating, so that's a big deal for him.
Congratulations to Jeff on their second win. And Phillip, I'll sneak in here just really quickly from you today on that restart. You guys, I'm sure your excitement seeing the yellow, but just plotting your venture forward from that point.
Yeah, I mean, it could have dropped a little bit earlier, would have been a bit more relaxed, but no, it was good that it happened. When it happened, I already passed a couple of firm cars at that point, so I didn't have to pass them at the restart. And, passing the early cars already, it was quite evident that it's not going to be as easy as it was on other tracks to make passes here, especially with all the marbles offline. So I was kind of gambling on the other guys holding each other up, fighting each other quite hard, and it happened, which made it a little bit easier for me. And I think everybody struggled especially on pickup after the restart. We had quite a lot of dirt on the tires, so everybody was just sliding around and trying to figure out how much grip you have on the restart laps. And I think that just helped me that I have a bit more experience than the other guys I'm racing at that time on the track.
What can you tell us about the team's effort as we head to the 8-hour?
I think this is probably the strongest weekend we had so far this year, so it's been an upward trend, especially from Jeff. It's been very impressive both races this weekend, and I just hope we keep that going in India and then go for the win there as well.
Thank you, Phillip.
Thank you.
A look back on a dramatic day of racing in Barber, and it started with Robbie Foley on pole for SRO Motorsport, able to secure the lead going into turn number 1 over Neil Verhagen from ST Racing. Kenton Cook, though, quickly on the move for the Random Vandals team to bring him into the top 3 overall. Pit stops were crucial, of course, and the timing of them as well, with the strategy overcut, undercut. Rothberg and Tan taking over these 2 cars. These are the 2 that were fighting for the Pro-Am Championship, and they still are heading to Indianapolis next month. The changeover put Philip Ellis at the control of the regulator racing car. He was quickly on the charge up through the field. Connor Daly made his way up around some of the Pro-Am lineups to the overall lead of the race. Big moment here, though, that brought out a yellow. Elias Sabo had an issue, spun off track, could not get restarted. That bunched the field back up again. And Philip Ellis, you see him out the windscreen doing what Philip Ellis does. Bill Oberlin worked his way up into 2nd overall. That reset was good for him and his strategy as well. This was the move of the race in the Pro-Am class. Rothberg goes wide, Ellis goes up the inside. A late splash of fuel took the win away from Connor Daly and Kenton Cook. They had to make that call to the pit lane. A final change of position on the podium there with Luca Mars around Adam Adelson. But at the end of it all, Alec Udell and Tommy Milner win for the 8th straight time in the Pro class. They head to Indy with a real chance at the championship. And in Pro-Am, Ellis and Burton win for the 2nd time.
Drivers, we're also going to invite Weberly Askew to
and the podium celebrations now underway. This is the Pro-Am podium for the 2nd time this year. At the center of the stage, Jeff Burton and Philip Ellis. They make the strategy work for them on what was a great weekend for that whole team. When you think about the association between regulator racing and DXDT, what is that, 4 wins across their 3 cars this weekend?
Yeah, just amazing performance by the whole group. They've really upped the ante, and Jeff Burton, though, really stepped up. As he said, best drive ever. I agree with that. I mean, his pace was immense here. Really set the table for Philip Ellis to do what he does best and drive that Mercedes really quick.
And they're flanked by the 2 championship protagonists on either side. It is awfully close between them. Verhagen and Tan, and whoever they drafted to join them for the 8-hour. Foley and Rothberg, and whoever they draft in. It's a lot of pressure for those 3rd drivers that get brought in for the championship decider.
There is, but I think there's a few studs out there who are ready to rock and roll and make it an intense 8-hour.
I expect that to be the case, and extra intense because there are double points up for grabs in that 8-hour contest to conclude this season. So it's the final Pro-Am sprint podium of the season. And it is the top 3 in the championship that stand on it, fitting in many respects. They'll make way now for the Pro class. For Udell and Milner, they are right there. It's pretty much a straight-up fight for the title, heading into the finale up against the Wright Motorsports pairing of Adelson and Skier, who have controlled the championship. They've had the lead since the word go, but that could all change after 8 hours of racing at Indy.
Yeah, I mean, they still have the lead, admittedly, as single digits now, so the pressure is definitely on. It's really whoever finishes in front of the other, unless we get down deep into the point-scoring position. So it's game on, and you never know. You can have the lead, you can have the track position, you suddenly have a cut-down tire. Anything can happen over the course of 8 hours. It's all about surviving and execution.
The car in 2nd in Pro, ST Racing's Pro Class entry. Bill Oberlin, Varun Choksi, this is their first trip to the podium since May. They were close yesterday, lost it late when Zach Veach passed Choksi, but this is their first finish in the top 3 since Circuit of the Americas Race 2. They started the season with 6 straight podiums.
Yeah, and that's ironic because their performance has been better over the last 2 or 3 weekends. So they finally break through. They've had a really strong weekend. Just lost out on the podium here yesterday late in the going, but bring it home strong. 2nd step on the podium ladder here today.
What is it about late race heroics with Mars and Veach? Both races, they had a late pass to get inside the top 3.
Yeah, no, they're both up on it. I think it's a really impressive duo. I think if they could come back next year, they'd be in really great shape. I mean, the team is strong. We've known that from their championship caliber over the years. But I think Veach and Mars have really got to grips with that Acura. They've got better setups on the car late in the season, and they're really shown what they can do, their true potential.
But I'm not sure there is a hotter pairing in motorsports right now in terms of a run of recent success than Milner and Udell. And again, they are coming loaded for bear at the Indy 8 Hour with some fantastic talent set to join them. They're going for a championship despite the fact they did not run in the first 4 races of the season. But when you win 8 in a row, that's what happens.
Picture changes quickly.
It does. It does. The execution has been outstanding. There's David Askew at the center, team owner. And he worked so hard to put this program together, and now he's starting to reap the benefits.
Thank you, David. If you want to step down, unless you want to get a champagne glass.
Great team. Moved a few years back from Utah, where they were initially based, out to North Carolina to be in the hub of the motorsports community. They're taking advantage of all the resources available to them in the Charlotte area. And the end result has
Luca
been
got a haircut, didn't he?
I think you're right, yeah.
He's got it tucked under his cap.
So next month, the Indianapolis 8 Hour is the season finale for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Same too for Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli. Thanks for joining us here at Barber. We'll see you in Indy.